Yes, guys. Hello. Listen, and welcome. Hey, guys, welcome to Little Black Button 91. We're here to talk to you guys about today. Well, who's going to be the new cult hero of the Red Pill Manosphere? Who's going to be the new cult hero? I'm going to talk a little bit more about how cults or cult leaders are born as well. Talk a little bit about this particular disparaging issue, obviously of Red Pill Manosphere, how men get into this space, why men are getting into this space, and talk a little bit about that as well. I'm also going to just be open as well. If you guys want to come on, last time we did this, we had someone come on, in it. Did you get me? Yeah, and it went some way. But today, again, I'm willing to be open. I want you guys, if you're willing to have your say on this topic, hit me up. Okay. If you're willing to have your say on this topic, hit me up. But you know what? I'm changing my name back to this. Okay. So if you see me here, you know what you're about to get tonight. Okay. You know what you're about to get tonight. All right, cool. Uh, let's see. Oh, baby. Let's see what's happening here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So is it not showing on there? Okay, cool, fantastic. Oh. Why is it not showing? Don't know why it was doing that. All right, let's kick it off. Okay. Hopefully it should work by now. I was off the thing there for a second, so I don't know. Hopefully you guys can see us now. You can see what's going on. I'm live because I have a feeling this thing is it's moving a bit mad right now. It's moving a bit mad right now. Okay. Let's have a look. Are we on now? Are we on now? Let's have a look. Yeah, we're on now. Fantastic. I can see people now. All right, cool. Sorry about that. Listen, it was moving mad. Like this thing was, I went live and it didn't go live. I don't know if somebody was trying to get me already. Do you get me? But listen, we're talking to you guys today about who's going to be the new leader of the Red Pill community. I'm not going to talk about who is actually going to be it, but we're going to talk a little bit about this topic. I want to invite some people up as well. I literally just came off another live with Scotty as well, so you might have seen me on there, Scotty's channel a few minutes ago. And obviously it inspired me again to talk about this subject because, again, like I said, I'm hoping that maybe we can get some people to come through and being able to come through and maybe share their point of view. Maybe we can talk back and forth. Maybe we can get a little bit of conversation flowing, and actually challenge some viewpoints there as well, because I'm sick and tired of seeing this content that'll be out there. Okay, so if you're new to the channel, do me a massive favor: like it, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the uploads. We appreciate you. Stay locked and stay loaded. Listen, we're about to get into this thing. Let's not waste much time. So I literally just came off another live and it got me thinking about this topic. And actually, I've been thinking about it for the past few weeks. I've been watching some content on the internet. I still have my feeders out there. Sometimes I'll be looking. I see the red pill, or I should call it Black Manosphere, that is out there. And there's some interesting things that are happening. They've been talking since, since the passing of Kevin Samuels, about them kind of coming together to try and draw upon the work that Kevin Samuels has done, the legacy that he's done. Now, I want to talk about this, which is interesting, is the most interesting thing for me about the situation is men who are drawn to this place, and there's similarly enough women that are drawn to this particular platform. Not my platform, but I'm talking about the likes of Kevin Samuels' platform, right? This particular these particular channels, they draw men who were boys in school who never got no play. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Can I be honest with you? Can I be honest with you? I want to be honest with you. All right. Their Black Manosphere, what I'm looking at from somebody who's observed when I was a kid and observed the different ways that people interact in school, Black Manosphere gives me the vibe of those kids in school those men specifically who never got women to look at them. They were the socially awkward, socially inept, maybe the smart ones, but didn't get no girls, didn't know how to talk to girls, were social outcasts sometimes as well. Like these people were not your they were not highly forming society people. Like most of the time they're not, right? Because there's a big difference between the black manosphere and those who are pickup artists. Big difference. But in all in all, when you look at some of the stuff that they say, it's about power. And if you're so focused on having power over women, it means you lost power somewhere else. Right? This is the thing. The man them that were getting gal are not in these spaces. The men that knew how to talk to women are not in the black manosphere space. The men that knew how to let's say quote unquote sleep with women and da da da, they are not in this space. I need not be in this space. Do you get what I'm saying? It is those who struggled with women in their childhood that are on these spaces. And I'm not saying everyone, but majority of them. Because when you really deep it, their complaint is women do this, women do that. So you telling me you can't find a woman to do what you want them to do? What I mean by that is you couldn't find a woman that meets your spec. You've not been able to find a woman that meets your spec. So you've gathered up the forces together because one girl broke your heart to come and gather the forces to come and insult women the whole entire time. That tells me that something isn't quite right. Right? Something wasn't quite right with you. You see, Kevin Samuels did something really interesting. Whenever somebody came on his platform, he'd be like, what's your mama and your daddy's relationship like? But did he ask the men, what's your mother and daddy's relationship like? See, a lot of these men, if you look at you know, if you look at the conversations or the comments, sorry, I should see on Kevin Samuels pages, you'll notice a lot of the men will tell you how bitter and angry they are with women. Listen, I got no problems with men needing a space to release how they feel, right? Release how they feel. I got no problem with that, right? But when now it gets to a point when every comment that you see in the comment section is about women are this, women are that, women are this, you start to realize, right? You start to realize, okay, how much they are enraged by women. And the problem is a lot of them stay in that place. They talk about red pill rage. A lot of you don't come out of that space, right? A lot of you don't come out of that space. Your brokenness that you're operating with a lens is problematic because you start seeing women as your enemy. If you now see women as your enemy, you've got a big problem. A big problem. That's why I talk about healing, right? Orange Pill Nurse, it's good to have you here, bro. Like, I think this is the second time I've seen you. Come up, man. Come up. If you want to come up, there's an email. Send me an email. Come up. Let's share your opinion. Let's hear what you're saying. Let's hear what you're saying. Let's have a conversation. Do you know what I'm saying? This is the night for you to come up. Don't worry about the comment section. You come up here and let's talk a little bit of conversation, because I've seen you last time and you were saying that you were, last time you disagreed as well. That's fine. You come in and talk to me and let's have that conversation, right? So so a lot of the I spoke about this last time, a lot of the rhetoric you hear from these people, right, is the rhetoric that you hear from these people is bitterness, unforgiveness, anger, hurt, and that then becomes the fuel to a lot of how the comments and videos even go with Kevin Samuels, right? And so what Kevin Samuels has become to these men is not only a father figure, but a cult-like hero. Kevin Samuels has become a cult-like hero. And the reason why he's become a cult-like hero is because he represents what these men want to do. Okay. And the danger behind this is when people become cult symbols, it never dies because the cult symbol is bigger than just a word somebody says. It represents the energy, the vibe, the atmosphere. It represents people's thoughts and mindsets. And he's becoming this cult-like hero because he's a daddy to them. And so what he's becoming is what Batman's signal is to Gotham. That's who Kevin Samuels is becoming. Kevin Samuels is becoming the bat-like signal to Gotham, right? And so what you start to realize is that whenever you want to do warfare, whenever you talk about the 48, have you ever read the book 48 Laws of Power? When you talk about these things, making things a symbol is a part of warfare. Because then what happens, it becomes a holy and righteous war, right? It becomes a holy and righteous war when you start when you start making things cult symbols. It starts making it about a righteous war, which is also one of the 33 strategies of warfare. And so what happens now is you have to start making somebody an enemy. If you notice, whenever you hear somebody from the Manosphere or Kevin Samuels fan base, their problem always is women, never men. Or we men, we always talk about what we've gone through, but it's women that's the issue. Why is women the issue? Why is your consistent mind frame that women are the issue? How many times do you hear a Kevin Samuels follower come out and be like, we're dealing with men? Kevin Samuels became the symbol for a lot of men who have bitterness in their heart towards women, whether because your mum hurt you or your dad hurt you, and then you got hurt in a relationship too, and that became your symbol, right? That became your symbol. That became your so it's interesting to see. Sorry, the sound went there for a second. Let's see what. Sorry, Jay said something. I wanted to. They gave women so much power. Now they hate them. I hear you. I hear you. Um, Look, for me, again, uh, the women and the men that go to these places are very broken. Have you ever seen somebody who is under a pimp? Yeah. Have you ever seen anybody's under a pimp? When someone's underneath a pimp or someone's in an abusive relationship, have you seen how they behaved? Have you seen how they behaved? You can tell them that this is wrong. They shouldn't be here. And they will know they shouldn't be here, but the cognitive dissonance will keep them there. Right? It is the pimp mentality, cult-like mentality. And to get someone there, they have to be broken or you have to break them. Right? But somebody exactly, as he was broken himself, he was leading a horde of broken people. So now these men who don't have the emotional intelligence oftentimes, who fail to be able to see beyond just their own point, lacking self-awareness, lacking the ability to also be accommodating to the fact that we live in a society of men and women, trying to behave in this stoic manner, like I don't have emotions, I don't feel, right? To try and keep yourself in a place of power because emotions are weak when emotions are essential to you having strength. You use emotions every single day. Every single minute you're in emotions. You're watching my thing, you're using emotions, right? So my biggest thing is that we're lacking men that are actually being aware of their surroundings, self-awareness. And so we are asking this key question: what did he do for the community? Because we're refusing. We can't see. We can't see. We can't see. And so, man, it's crazy. It's a shame. Like, so I'm asked that question: who will be the new cult hero? Who's going to be the new cult? Who's going to be the new cult hero of Red Pill? Hmm? When I listen to some of the content that I've been listening to of late in terms of Red Pill, because I do my research and I listen, you can hear that they're like, who will be the next person that will be able to come through and unite? And have you noticed they're not okay? So whenever you deal with cults, right, specifically as well, right, people forget that like, for instance, when you look at Kevin Samuels, I know someone's brought up a stat saying Kevin Samuel had like 700k women, 300k men. Well, that's no different to having a church. Kevin Samuels having more female followers than male followers is no different than holding a church, and no different to a cult. Most cults, most churches, okay, when you have men and women, usually have women in more in greater capacity than you do the men, right? So it's no different to being at church. In church, the same thing happens. When you go to church, most of the time you see what women than you do the men. And in the same space for Kevin Samuels, yes, you saw more women than you saw with men. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it is no special feat to have more women than men follow you on this platform to bring a proof for your trash comments and trash ideology, right? So the truth of the matter is there are, and here's the bigger thing: if there were so many women following him, do you know why? Because there's so many women that are broken. You see, oftentimes we look at the empirical evidence without looking at the emotional evidence, without looking at the psychology, without looking at things intrinsically, without looking at things holistically, right? So you don't realize that if you're looking at these people going to Kevin Samuels, why are they going to him? A pimp has hoes. Does that make it right? We'd all see a pimp and be like, well, I mean, he shouldn't really be having these hoes. I mean, but is this woman's choice? Is these women's choice? It's these women's choice. You know what I mean? Let them do what they don't do. It's these women's choice. And it's like, but you would look at a pimp and be like, I know that's wrong. And you're able to do that because you know you have a moral compass, right? You have a moral compass that works and tells you, right, that pimp having those hoes, the way he's treating them, real bad. But why is that? Why is that so-called hoe with the pimp? Because she is broken. We can understand that, right? So you have to understand that when people are going to Kevin Samuel's channel, it's not because he's amazing. It's because a lot of them are broken, who recognize the patterns of brokenness in Kevin Samuel's speech, mannerism, tone, and the things that he says. That's true, though. This is very true. This is very true. He did lie, a lot of them. Hopefully, someone will have it. Maybe someone will have the analytics they can show us. But it's very true. The comment section were filled with men, not women. That is very, very true. Okay. Kevin switched over his content to take advantage of black women and to make money and to make business. But it's not just that, it's the fact that there was a market for people to celebrate and watch his content the way they did. And not only watch, but contribute financially and to drag other women as well alongside. Right? That's the biggest problem we have here. So the self-esteem issue is whenever we deal with cults as well, cults prey on people that are isolated. They prey on people that are low self-esteem. They prey on people that have daddy issues and mommy issues. They prey on the vulnerable people emotionally. They prey on people who haven't got anybody around them. They prey on people that are so desperate to find an answer, they would choose anything and not really discern and decipher it. They will chew those people up. They will always gather those people, right? They will always gather those people. Right? Orange pill nurse. So if women come to your channel more than men, they aren't broken or a cult. No, but it depends on the content you speak about. The evidence of my work is in the comment section. The evidence of my work is in the comment section. The evidence of my work is in the chat right now. The evidence of the work is the produce of that fruit. When you look at Kevin Samuel's fruit, where do you see the benefiting fruit? That's the question I'm asking. See, in cults, what people don't realize is with cults, the very people at the top of the pyramid get oftentimes treated really, really well. And because they're at the top of the pyramid, what it looks like is, oh, he treats people really, really good. No, no, no. He has people at the top of the pyramid who he treats well, and the rest that trickles down is madness. Because the people at the bottom become envious of the people at the top. So when they see people, oh, they're doing well, he treats them like this, he does this, he does. And when you realize, when you get to the top, it ain't like that. So whenever we deal with these cult-like organizations, you'll start to realize quickly, very, very quickly, that somebody will be hailed to a point where when they say problematic stuff, nobody challenges them. Nobody. And it's like, you can just say whatever you want, they're going to back you. And your followers won't even have the sense of mind to say, actually, maybe that's not true. Right? Maybe that's not true. I mean, if you notice, look, we have conversations here, right? Today, someone told me I was absolutely wrong about the Kia. Absolutely wrong. I was absolutely wrong. And it is what it is. We're gonna have different points of view, right? And that's cool. So it's when you get to cult-like hero status. Oh, you know what I'm saying? So exactly, Crystal. The evidence of the work is what people say and what people do, and what fruits are shown by what is a comment section saying? What are people saying in your chat? What people saying in your lives? How do they treat other people? Right? How did you listen? If you follow me long enough, you can't be in the category of I hate men or I hate women. Because I don't promote that. I don't promote that. If you follow me long enough, you're not going to stay in the I hate men or I hate women category, because that's not what I produce. I don't want to produce that. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't want to produce that. I want to produce people that think. I want to produce people that are critical thinkers. I want to produce people that are going to love people. I want to produce people that are going to actually enjoy other people. Right? So this is really important. It's really important. The manosphere is vexed about a system that men created that women are now taking advantage of, and they get vexed at that. But you gave this, you are part of a structure that benefits men. So when women do certain things, X, Y, and Z, they can also benefit, and you get vexed at them. It don't make sense. We build a patriarchal society. Women then can do hypergamy, and if they do hypergamy, they are trying to play the game within the patriarchal society. At that point, why am I angry at the fact that you're going to do that? You know what I mean? So, hey, look, a lot of the rhetoric around this manosphere, it's problematic. But again, I would hope that someone would come on here and share. Orange Pill, you've been in the chat. We'd love to hear, to hear your point of view. You know, let's hear some of your points of view, Orange Pill, because I've seen you in the chat. So let's come up on here, and you don't have to put the camera on if that's how you feel. If you don't want to put a camera on, you don't have to put a camera on. You come and say how you feel. Like, you know what I mean? Um, so so that's it. So Esther Joseph said, why are we talking about this man like he didn't do anything good in life? Dang, he was harsh, yes. However, most of what he argued was true. As a black woman, I did love him. Hey, I'm not saying that you can't learn from Kevin Samuels. There were some points that you will learn from Kevin Samuels, the same way I learned some points from a cult leader. You can learn. There are some truths that you're going to learn. There are going to be some truths that you're going to learn from what Kevin Samuel said, because a lot of his rhetoric is what men already had said already. He added 2 on 10, though. You know what I mean? He added 2 on 10. A lot of the rhetoric we speak about, barbershop aspects, right? But the other rhetoric that comes through, just like a cult leader, is mixed with lies in between, and then false narratives and really diabolical, dangerous thoughts. And so that's why I'm saying, in the sense of there is going to be some truth that you're going to get from him, but the majority of it is it didn't have a positive effect. You want to bring the community together, and yet the half of the community are not with you. This is what the problem is with the legacy of Kevin Samuels. What is a legacy? You said you want to bring people together, and yet when we come to see the evidence of your work, people weren't being brought together. Do you listen? Him solving some marriages, listen, people forget that people will get some stuff right. Even fools can get things right. It's not to say that he's not helped anybody. It's to say that the majority of people that you were trying to help did not get helped. Do you get what I'm saying? Did not get helped. And that's the biggest issue. And again, I'm talking about this culture of things. Um, you know, it's the narrative that's been put across from his side is problematic. See, a lot of times we are trying to gloss. Okay, let me give you an example. Someone can say, let's look at Hitler, and if we go through Hitler's, if we go through Hitler's, if we go through Hitler's list of what he spoke about, I can guarantee you might find a few things in there that are actually true. I can guarantee you, if you go to Hitler and what he spoke about, you'll find some truth in what he said. You'll find some truth in what he said, right? You'll definitely see it there. But what do we say? Well, Hitler has some truth, and but look how bad he was. We don't say that. We just say when you mention Hitler, it is synonymous with evil because of what he did. Now, of course, the difference of it here being that we don't see anybody physically die, but we're smart individuals. We can learn. We can see how it affects people emotionally. We can see how people can be mentally affected by some of these things, right? That's the problem with the rhetoric that's spoken. I'm not saying again that he hasn't got some truths. What I am saying is, at the point in time, you don't mention Hitler. Who mentions? Someone said, "Oh, you don't dance, you don't celebrate his death." I'm like, but when you mention Hitler, do you mention Hitler in a good way? Do you say, "Oh, rest in peace, Hitler, rest in peace"? You find it socially acceptable, right? You find it socially acceptable to be able to talk about Hitler in a particular way because the narrative has already been fixed. Because the narrative has already been fixed that he is synonymous with evil. Therefore, we don't mind saying good riddance to Hitler. Thank God, because he killed so many people. But not realizing that when people are starved, killed, hurt emotionally and mentally, it's also just as dangerous when it can lead to people's death physically. We have to think about this, right? You have to think about this. Someone said it's a bad comparison. I'm trying to get you to understand about the nature of why people might say what they do about you in death. Nobody talks about Hitler and goes, no one talks about Hitler and goes, well, he might have some good points. Do you know there are people who believe in eugenics? Oh, you see, don't know. Hey, you don't know. There are people who believe in eugenics. The thing that he believed in, there are people in this world who believe in it. There are people who believe in it, right? There are people that believe in it. So there are somebody will say, but eugenics is true. Eugenics is true, though. Nobody says, no one says RIP to Hitler. You say it's different, but I'm saying, why is it different? Why would it be different that Hitler is different? Why is Hitler different? When we really break it down, what you're really saying is because he killed people and you hold that in a higher moral regard. And I'm saying to you that if you hold that in a higher moral regard, I need you to look at the damage somebody can do to you emotionally and mentally. Right? You need to look at the damage that can be done there. Don't look at just because someone's passed away, that's the damage. Because the damage was done before then. What he did is he broke nations. He broke nations, he enslaved mindsets, and he forced his narrative onto people. That's what happens when you give people unadulterated power. You know, so I'm trying to give that comparison. It's not that KS is Hitler. It's to say that you wouldn't say you're expected. Okay, uh, you wouldn't expect a Jew to be like cool with the Hitler thing because they know exactly what he's done to them. The injured party, you don't tell the injured party how to feel about the brother. Some of you are now coming to do moral police. I wouldn't celebrate his death. I'm like, babe, I don't think anybody's even crying over Hitler like that. And again, I'm trying to just bring in a drawing. I'm not saying that KS has killed anybody. I'm trying to draw in so you understand the nature of when you do something to a group of people, do not expect them to celebrate you. Your legacy, if you want to talk about legacy and what he's done, why is it that the people, why is it the people, why is it the people don't rate you even in death? That would be your evidence of what you've done on earth. How people remember you. Do you get what I'm saying? Right? He said, if people didn't like Kevin Samuels, why didn't they just continue to follow Derek Jackson, Steve Harvey, etc.? Well, the truth of the matter is with Steve Harvey, and look at this, Derek Jackson, he cheated on his wife, he moved mad, he was sleeping with other women. People are still going to follow him. Now, what bad are people going to say about Derek Jackson? They're going to say, Derek Jackson, he cheated on his wife. Maybe he's a narcissist a little bit. Maybe they might say that too. They might say, he might say, you know what, he's unfaithful. But you know what they're not going to say? That he didn't give bad advice. They ain't going to say that. They ain't going to say he gave bad advice. They might say, oh, he's a simp. But they ain't going to say anything bad. See, so see that key difference there? The key difference is the impact on the people that you say you're trying to help. What impact have you had? No matter what you feel about Derek Jackson, no matter if you think he's a simp, whether you think he played women, whether you think he was using his platform to get women, it don't make a difference. His evidence is by what do people look at the comment section, you'll look at what people say about him, and you'll realize, fam, the only beef they have with him is really the fact that he was cheating. If that was Kevin Samuel's legacy, that he cheated on his wife, I think we'd still be here. But he's not. The legacy isn't that. The legacy is he directed men to a certain degree that became very problematic, dangerous rhetoric. Same with Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey's been married, what, 3 or 4 times? Or how many times has he been married? 3 or 4 times? 2, 3 times? Guy's been married 3 or 4 times, right? The key thing about Steve Harvey is the legacy again. What would they say about him? Well, only thing about Steve Harvey really was the fact that maybe, you know what, how can he give advice when he's been divorced 3 times? That's what they're going to say about him. But it's not going to be about your character. It's not going to be about the fact you mistreated people or maltreated people. It's not going to be that kind of legacy. His followers are not going to be people that are coming to now tell people that, you don't deserve this, you don't deserve that, you don't deserve this. That's what it's not going to be. So that's what I'm trying to put across. What we're putting into this atmosphere is what we're getting out of it. That's what it is. I appreciate it, Vanessa. Thank you very much. Much love for that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So I'm just trying to get people to just think a little bit. We have all these great arguments to try and make Kevin Samuels this person who, you know what? Yeah, he wasn't that bad. But when you really trace where that conversation goes to, where that traces to, where it goes to, you'll realize how quickly it becomes problematic. Let me see if anyone's messaged me yet. No? Okay. Guys, listen, if you want to come up here, have your say, whether you're for or against, come and have your say. If women too, if you feel like you've been affected by the Kevin Samuel situation, you come up here, let us have your thoughts as well. All right. If you want to come and say a piece, just send me an email. We'll get you on here as well. Like, do you know what I'm saying? We want to hear your thoughts tonight. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to have a conversation, hear your thoughts, and get what your perspective is. Let's see this. Recently, I've seen the comment section that Black Kevin Samuels minions are comparing him to Jesus. I was flabbergasted. Yeah, and that's the cult-like energy I'm talking about. That's the cult-like talk about. C-Perk said, I'm surprised the man got a ride out so many people just by talking on YouTube. Well, the same thing can be said about Trump. Why did Trump have so many people that were against him? He was only tweeting. He was only giving a press conference. He was only talking on your TV. And because when people make these arguments about Kevin Samuels about, have you watched all his content? Have you watched all of Trump's speeches? Have you listened to every single word he said on a speech? Have you listened to every single word he said in public? Have you? If you haven't, how can you decipher what Trump really is? Oh, I know. Because the snippets that we've seen, we can judge by the snippets we've gone by. You know what I mean? Like, there's enough snippets out there, enough of what he said. You'll be judged by what you said, and you'll be freed by what you said. You'll be condemned by the words and be freed by them. We don't need to see a whole catalog of different, we don't have to have a whole catalog of different, pieces of work. All we need is to see pieces of it. That's all. I don't need to see a whole catalog. I don't need to see every single speech. How people feel about certain people. You don't need to see every single speech. I only need to see a few snippets enough to go, okay, there's consistent energy in these videos. There's consistent energy on your speeches. It'd be like that, right? So, oh man. It's crazy out here, man. It's crazy out here. So yeah, man. Yeah, I want to hear your voices, guys. If you have your opinions or you've been affected by Kevin Samuels, want to hear your say. Let me put this here. I should say men and women to have your say. You want to have your say on this? Let us know. Okay. We want to hear your voice on this particular issue. We want to get you guys to come through. All right. Cool. Yeah. Let's see. Someone says something. Let's see. KS had people against him because he held black women accountable. These mamas, boys, and anti-black men, black women are only ones who hated KS for what he did. I'm not a mama's boy, but I don't like what he preached. I don't like what he preached. I don't have an issue. Here's the thing. I'm an equal opportunity kind of person. And Kevin Samuel's a very smart businessman. He realized himself, right, quite clearly. In fact, let me get a clip for you. He won't. Okay. Kevin Samuels himself, right, knew that talking about black women would get him money, right? He knew exactly that talking about black women would get him money. And there was a clip years ago of him talking, saying he wouldn't do things on black women, but how quickly that ended. And then he ended up talking about black women because he realized how lucrative it is. It was, and my question is, why do we always get to a place where we're talking about holding black women accountable? Why? Do you know what I keep saying to people? Like, if you really want black women to change, just elevate yourself. Elevate yourself. You see, when you elevate the men, the women will follow. The women will follow. If you elevate the men and get them to be accountable and make them better, the women will start to follow. That's what I'm saying, that we need to focus more on the leaders and revolutionizing the leadership first before you try to revolutionize the followers. Make sure the leadership is good and the followers will tend to be good too, right? Because whatever's at the head goes down to the body. Is it the body that eats the food or is it the mouth that eats the food? Which one comes first? If I feed the body, how do I feed it? Do I feed it through the anus? Do I feed it through the belly button? Do I feed it through the mouth? Where is the mouth located? It's located in the head. So when the hand decided to lift a piece of food to the mouth, it is flowing from the head to the body. And this is an example, or I should say an analogy that Christ gave, saying that he's a head and we, the bride, as a woman, are the body. What is being fed from the head should come to the body. And if the head is correct, if the head is good, the body should also be what? Good. Because you cheating on your diet is a mental thing. You eating bad food is a mental thing. You not exercising is a mental thing. It starts there and then it goes down to there. The body itself is going to respond to what the mind says. The head, if we're saying men are head of families, head of homes, head of these places, my friend, then you need to make sure that the men are accountable. That's what you need to be focusing on. When the men become accountable, then the women will follow. Because what will then happen is when men are realizing that women are not doing this, they say, listen, we're not involved in this. Sorry. Yeah, I'm not about that life. I'm sorry. Nah, I'm all right. Thank you. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm good. So it's important to see that, it's important to see that, and know that. If you want to come on, look, the email is down below. Email me first. It's just so that we can control the flow of people coming in, because when you put the link out there, anybody can jump on. Send me someone said Cynthia G seems angry. I don't rock with Cynthia G's content either, to be honest. I don't. I'll be honest with you, I don't. I need to watch more of her content though to get a bit more better understanding. But the energy I got there, I didn't like it. I'm to be honest with you. I didn't like the energy. When I got there, I didn't like the energy. Yeah, I didn't like the energy. I'll be honest with you. So yeah, I wasn't about it. So yeah, let's see. So yeah, so that's the point I want to kind of get people to understand. You want to be able to have men who are going to be accountable to men and grow themselves first. Look, let me give you an example, right? I dated someone, right? And because I was healthy emotionally and because I was in a better place, when that girl started showing these toxic traits, I told her, I'm not about it. So sorry, I'm not here for it. Right? As time went on, still seeing these toxic traits, guess what happened? I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm out. Do you see what I'm saying? When you elevate yourself, especially as a man, because you're the leader, when you elevate the leaders, the followers have to follow, right? If you yourself as a man are in a healthy position, what you'll realize is, okay, that the women will follow. And the women that come to you, you'll be able to discern if this woman is good or not. So the problem is we focus on the wrong thing. We focus on the women so much that we refuse to deal with the leaders at hand. Right? So when you don't deal with the leadership at hand, the followers also too, when you start dealing with them, they'll be looking at you like you're moving mad. Is that not what's happening in the black community? The men are saying women need to be accountable, and the women are looking at, but you guys are not even on point. What is there to submit to? They start asking questions about the community because they're looking at leadership, and this ain't it. Right? This ain't it. This ain't it. We peek out here. Oh my god. Man, it's crazy up in these streets. Someone said people hate us black man, so I stay clear of trouble. Who hates you, J person? Let me know. Who hates you? I don't know. I hear that. Okay, new tech 2100. All men are leaders. I mean, listen, all men are capable of being leaders. When I say men are leaders, I mean in the general capacity. I mean, in a general capacity, men are leaders. They're supposed to be because they're meant to protect, provide, and be a priest over their home. So I'm talking about men as a general consensus should be leaders of the society. And if they lead in a beautiful, if they lead in a loving way, if they lead in a loving way, then you don't have to force things like submission because people want to follow people that are inspiring. People want to follow people that love. People want to follow people that are full of life, full of zest. People want to follow these people. Do you understand? But if you're not full of those things, who wants to follow you? I don't want to follow you. Even Kevin Samuels himself, why do people follow him? He had some charisma. He has charismata. You know what I mean? Now, some of the views were a bit mad, but people follow these people. Now, had he been a greater leader in terms of showing more love, you'd have seen that it would have been a different type of following he would have had. So, as a man, what we're trying to get you to understand is you want to elevate yourself. Look, I tell my boys around me, my boys will say the same thing. I've said the same thing. Focus on your work. Focus on what you're called to do. Put your energy into it because the women will follow. They will follow. Don't worry about that. You're doing it the wrong reverse. You're trying to worry about the women. I'm like, brother, no, focus on your work. Focus on what you're called to do. Do it well. And when you do it well, everything else falls into place. Real simple, right? So if you don't take care of yourself, okay, cool. Uh if you don't take care of yourself and yeah, if you don't take care of yourself and focus on growing yourself, always have problems. You know what I'm saying? You'll always have problems. So I've got someone who's wanting to come on, so let me just send him a link. But yeah, it be like that. You know what I'm saying? It be like that. You got to focus on yourself. Tony said, "I'm telling out a flat lie." Tony, bro, if you want to come up here and if you want to come through, man, come up and show your piece, man. Share your piece. If you're if you have a different point of view, you come on. There's a link there. Send me an email and come aboard and let me hear what you got to say. You know what I mean? Again, I want to say this. I want to say this straight for the men out here. Like, if you're a man and you're focused on what you're called to do, I'm telling you now, and you focus on doing what you're supposed to do, man. I'm telling you, the woman will fall into place as long as you're obviously again make sure you're working on not just your finances but you're working on your emotional state as well, making sure you're healthy emotionally, making sure that you're healthy, as a healthy mindsets, right? Taking care of yourself. These are health wise. These listen, because women also outnumber men too. Women outnumber the men too. You would have a whole host of women. You're focused so much on women. Even Manosphere are talking about we want to go our own way. Men go their own way. MGTOW. You talk about men go their own way, but you keep talking about women, right? I can guarantee you that most people who follow KS, when if they were to come up here, their first words are black women need to be held accountable. Why? That's my question. Why do they need to be held accountable? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying? Again, we're talking about, again, have you looked at the lives of men? I have seen those things. Listen, again, nobody complains when he's doing men this way. If that's what he wants to tell men, let him tell men. This is what I'm trying to say. Like, the issue is he shifted his content to women. That's the issue. If he wants to talk reckless and wickedy to men, let men complain about what he's saying to other men. Do you know what I'm saying? We're back here again. This argument doesn't make sense to me. If he's talking to men and he's this rude with men, right? If he's this rude with men, then cool, let the men sort it out. If they feel disrespected, let the men sort it out. Let the men sort it out. But he's now not talking about men, he's talking about women. Right? Tony said, all of that sounds good, but it's deeper than that, son. Tell us how it's deeper than that, Tony. I'm waiting to hear what you got to say. Bro, there's an email. We want to hear your voice come through. It's not about focus on women. This is about how chaos went wrong for holding black women accountable. End of story. But again, my question is, how did he go about holding them accountable? How did he go about it? Right? Why are we so excited about holding women accountable? If you really want to grow if you really want to grow a union between the two, you have to address both parties equally. Better yet, I would say you need to address the men more. Right? So the focus on women became too much. And broken women were going on the show looking for some type of validation, looking for daddy figures, broken because and brokenness, it always tries to find its level of brokenness. Yeah. Let me tell you something. If you're not really emotionally aware, if you're not really emotionally intelligent, this channel probably won't serve a lot of people. It probably won't serve you because you won't understand the concepts that we talk about on this channel. You won't be able to reason with some of the people in the audience who are emotionally intelligent, emotionally aware, self-aware. You won't be able to stay here long. So you either grow or you die. Do you know what I'm saying? And so people find their level, and KS had a level. He was out here being wickedy, bitter in the energy he was given to try and hold black women accountable. And it's like, focus on the men, damn. If you want to do that, focus on the men. If that's how you're going to hold women accountable, then focus on the men. If you don't know how to talk to women and you don't know how to address them, then fine. Do you get what I'm saying? Right? Someone said extreme hypergamy create unrealistic expectations. Yeah, but look, again, I would say there are always going to be people that have unrealistic expectations. There always are. There always are. Why are we're so focused on those people that have unrealistic expectations? You know, we have so focused on expectations that listen, there are going to be always, if you want to call it deluded people out there, there are always going to be those kind of people. So yeah, let me get my headphones on because I think we've got somebody in the background. Let's hear what you got to say. Please, anybody coming on, we don't do swearing around here. Please, if you're gonna F-bomb and drop, it's not here. Okay. It's not for me. I'm not about that life. Please keep the energy sweet. Let's conversate, let's discourse. All right. I don't want to have to mute you. All right. Okay, cool, fantastic. Let's get it flowing. All right. Bomberry Juice. Hello, Bomberry Juice. How you doing?
How you doing? Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you, sis.
Okay, good. How you doing, my brother? Thank you for telling me the rules. So no F-bombs and what else? Because, I kind of, just give me the rules, babe.
Oh, just saying no F-bombs and just keep it sweet. That's what I'm saying, keep it cute. Yeah, keep it
Okay.
cute. Yeah, that's all.
Well, I just wanted to, I just stumbled across your channel and
Okay.
I was listening to you and I agree with you 100%. You sound like a young man who knows what a man is supposed to be doing. Women we want to follow men, but we want to follow men who we want to follow, right? Men who are men. So when you men are doing right, then women, we see that. And we see that you are a responsible man, you're a respectful man, and you are a man who we could trust, then we will give you that femininity that you expect from your woman, because we want you to like us, right? We want the man who we want to like us. We All women aren't looking for every man to like them.
Mm.
But if I find you attractive, I see that you are nice, you smell good, you're responsible, you're doing everything men do, then yes, that's we notice that. And so I'm just want you to know I'm listening to you, and I hear you, and I agree with you.
I appreciate it, sis. Appreciate. What was your kind of? I mean, what have you encountered, or what has been your experience of Kevin Samuel's content, or how has it affected you listening to his content, or if you've heard someone else listen to his content? What's your kind of experience been around Kevin Samuels, if you want to call it that?
Well, Kevin Samuels, I've known him before the blow up, right?
Okay.
Knowing of him, I've been here on YouTube for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Samuels was let's just say his talking points were very because he was disingenuous. I felt like, I don't know why people think that he was trying to bring families together. That is not what that man was doing, right? When women would go up there and ask her for advice, it doesn't matter what she was saying, whether she was okay with a man and working hard with him so we could build together, or whether she was saying she wanted a high value man so she could be a stay-at-home mother. It didn't matter what she said. His job was to tear her down, right? That's what I saw him doing. I saw him literally tearing down women, telling them they too fat, too old, not cute enough, not tall enough, and that's what I saw him doing. Are you frozen? Am I frozen? Am I still here? Let me come check.
Oh, so sorry about my internet went off there for a second.
Oh, okay. You back?
That's my fault. Yeah, I'm back. My bad. It's me. It's me. My
Oh,
internet
okay.
went. Sorry. Continue. I do apologize.
Oh, okay. So no. What part did you miss? I was just saying. I think he was He was a distraction from us coming together as a community, and I think that he also was very destructive. The men, and you said it right before I got up here. You said these men want to hold women accountable. Like, I don't even know most of these men. Most of these men don't even know us as individuals. What do they want to hold us accountable for? So I agree with you 100%.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your experience as well, because I think that's important as well to kind of get that aspect as well. Because I think seeing his content, like I said, as a man, I'm also very much aware, that's the effects of his rhetoric is not necessarily on to me. It's on to women. So sometimes, even as a man, I'm limited in my scope of understanding of how sometimes the rhetoric can even affect women. So it's good to hear your point of view, if you know what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, he was an older man. Kevin lied about everything. He lied about his education, his age, his profession. If you catch him on different shows when he was being interviewed, he was a great storyteller. He just wasn't telling the truth, you know. And so, first of all, he wasn't trustworthy. Like, people are even shocked that he passed away at 57, because he was telling people he just was early 50s, like just turned 50. So what do we do as a community to get away from the people who lying? And are we becoming a community of liars? Because have you noticed that everyone is now a six-figure earner? Do
Mm.
you see that? All the men are six-figure earners now. And it's almost like that fake it till you make it thing. What do you think about that?
I mean, I guess it's one of those things where six figures becomes that magical number it was so talked about, and yeah, I think when you because it's become so hyper focused, and the trouble is a lot of these people who are looking at these kind of platforms, they're literally looking for formulas how to get women. This is the biggest trouble of it. So anything that is a formula that can work, suddenly they latch onto it. So this six-figure thing, if Kevin Samuels is correct, and it's only which he is, the stats are right. If it's literally 10 to 13% of men that are are six figures, how the hell are so many of you lot six figures? You know
Right.
what I mean? You kill your own argument in a sense.
Right. And he is right about that. It's a small number of black
Percentage.
men and women, right, who making six figures. And
Mm.
so, and he would use that against the women. He would tell them he could help them get the six figures. That's why they would go on the show. And then when he beat them down, he would say, "Well, what make you? Why do you even deserve a man with six figures?" See, I think of a high value man is not about the money he makes. Like I just come across you, but I look at you like a high value man, right? You're not want to use foul language. You're over here being respectable. You're being as truthful as I can see that you're being. Uh, it has. I don't even know how much money you make. You may not even have a job, but the value of a man or a person isn't based on their pockets. Do you agree with that, or?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with that. In terms of value, that value would mean there's a fair exchange between two parties. So, what value are you getting from me? If you say I'm high value, then there must be an interchange between myself and the other party that is worthwhile. But with Kevin Samuels and his crew, there's a shortchanging because there's a lack of truth in what he's actually saying. So that wouldn't be classed as high value. And that's why I find it problematic when people use certain words. It's like language means something. If you look at the dictionary, it means something. So if we say someone is high value, you have to say that this person is going to exchange with you in a way that you're going to benefit greatly. So yeah, for me, I don't believe high value is solely. I mean, money can be part of it.
Mm-hmm,
If money is being utilized in a way that affects the community in a positive manner. Your community could be your family, it could be your immediate family, it could be your children, it could be your greater community. That value means in the form of everything. It means you as an individual person, you are a benefit to the people around you. And so yeah, that for me is what high value is, which actually sometimes he did preach about, but he didn't preach it in a global sec, because
mm-hmm,
a lot of the followers don't have the mindset to conceive what he's saying. When he was talking about the high value, what he really meant was he was talking about a small pop community that he already had. He weren't talking about the audience of men. And that's
mm-hmm.
my problem with Kevin. The disingenuousness is the problem with him. He's very, 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 very sly on that respect.
Right. But even that, like you just said, the small portion of men that he's had, the year before last, Kevin was on here asking the men in the Manosphere to help him pay his rent.
Mm,
Kevin didn't have any jobs, right? Kevin used to his job was on YouTube. And when he wasn't working on YouTube, he worked for Yellow Pages. So he wasn't a man. He would just lied a lot, right? But once the men found out, they didn't care because all they cared about is him beating up on the black woman. So that was he really, yeah. It's horrific though that we believe this man even when people put proof in their face. He just was untrustworthy.
mm,
Why would you follow a man? How can a man teach you how to be family, get families together? He's divorced twice, and even within the two marriages, he wasn't married no longer than 3 years. He didn't take care of his daughter. He just paid child support off this year by becoming a huge YouTuber, you know? So I guess what I'm saying is that, yeah, I've already said it. He was disingenuous. Well, that's being nice. He was a liar. Just put it like that.
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you, sis. Thank you, Bomb Cherry Juice. Danny, you wanted to be involved in the conversation as well. What's your thoughts?
Hey y'all, hi.
How
Hi,
you
Danny.
doing?
Hi everybody.
How you doing? You're right.
Can you hear the country in my accent?
Hey, it's cool, man. We like it round here. Go on, talk to us.
Okay, so first I want to start off by saying yes, I am hecka young. Okay.
Mm,
So like I'm just turning 21 this
okay.
coming year. So I may not know everything, but I can say I have this that there was a question you guys were talking about, like, okay, why are they so upset being held, what can black women be held accountable for in a large group setting, correct?
Mm,
I've already thought this through because I'm just like an overthinker. I just
that's
sit,
cool.
I'm those people that stare at the wall, like, wow, ants really have lives, like, but I've already thought about it, and my answer is that they're upset with being born in the position that they are.
Mm,
Because if you think about it, what when over here I hear so many conversations being had, and they go, well, you didn't have to have that baby, you didn't have to have this, you didn't have to have, you didn't, and then they get angry at the fact that when you do go through with having the child, but there isn't the same energy, much less so when it's a child of lighter skin tone, looser hair texture, because I think it's the underlying acknowledgement that they're going to be treated better. It's like birthing a better version of yourself. So some of the things you suffer through, they won't understand nor suffer through it.
mm, okay.
And I mean, y'all can stop me if I'm wrong, but I've thought
I
about
haven't actually witnessed it myself, so I'm just listening, but I haven't witnessed that part. That part where you just spoke about the light skin tone, I haven't really witnessed that myself. So
yes,
that's what I'm
yes,
saying. But you go on.
I've thought about it, and when you think about the position that Black people in general are in society, it's a tough crowd for everybody. I mean, with Black women, you have to face misogynoir, you have to face,
Mm,
and then even if the feminists do win at the end of the day, you're still Black. How
mm,
you gonna fix that? You can't. Okay, but who's coming to fight your battle for you? Nobody that's not Black. Well, except for the allies, but you never can tell these days. But um yeah, it's the struggle with being Black, and they're angry, and I feel that they're angry and upset with being born Black in a society that doesn't embrace or hold it up to the same standards as white people. We aren't given opportunities, we take them.
mm. Okay.
Receive them, we earn them. I mean, I agree that white people can work hard, but I've always had this thought that the hardest a white person has worked is the bare minimum for people of color.
Mm,
Facts.
So you have to acknowledge that it's a tough life for Black people in general to live. And Kojo, you've already said that you don't like Cynthia G. I can agree with some of your talking points because it gets kind of, yeah, the
it's her
language,
energy.
like, I can acknowledge some of the things she say to be true, but it gets a point where the name calling, the back and forth, the anger, you just have to step away, and you're like, okay, well, what she said is true, but at the same time, do they have to call them names and like repetitive? It gets to a point, I understand, but it she'll talk about how hard it is to be a black person, and especially in America. I don't know how it is over there in the UK. I would figure it's just as hard,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not sunshine and roses. We work for everything we have. It's not given to us. It's not. And she hinted and or alluded to the idea that black men over here may have already given up on fighting that fight. It's gotten too much. And I could understand because it's years of being terrorized, not because you did something to them, not because you said something, not because you went on a pillage and did horrible things to their people, but because of how you look. And after a while, it's going to pile up and drag you down to where you feel like your spirits are broken. And some of the stuff you read up in history is just god awful what they did, especially to black men. But black women caught the same thing, but we were still fighting. When you look back in history, I mean, who freed the who freed the slaves and got them out at the end of the day? When she turned that gun and said, "Ain't nobody going back," that was Harriet Tubman, a black woman. What I'm trying to say is black women never stopped fighting. And I think at this point, maybe black men have. It's tiresome.
Mm.
And I think we do it because pride. We
Do
still we have a chance. If you want to cut in, please. I love conversation. I do.
we? Well, I agree with you that I think these men in the manosphere are they hate the fact that they are black, and they really hate that they hate their mothers. Okay, so
Oh,
it boils down to them hating the fact of being black. Now, when you said that they don't want to, what Cynthia G has said, I do agree with a lot of things she says. The language, when you
not
hear from, I'm sorry,
yeah, the language not so much, but keep going, keep going.
well, the language, she's, even before I came to YouTube, she was fighting the fight. Like
Mm.
Cynthia G used to be pro black and
Yeah.
pro black male, pro black. And the black men, even when she was on their side, used to beat up on her. So you know what we women do, like you just said, we have some pride. We don't want to keep getting beat up on, and when I was swinging back. So that's what happened.
Mm.
She's done it. When I came, I was real nice and sweet to these men as well, until they started gut punching me, and then now I use that language to embarrass them, right?
Uh-huh.
It's
Uh-huh.
almost like they'll say, "You sound masculine. You're masculine," and then I start giving it to them. You have a choice to make. It's unfortunate for us women, but we cannot come in this space being feminine. You will not last long. They will tear you down. Okay, that's that will, and as far as history, black men and black women, we went through the same terrible history together. Not up till recently, really,
Yeah.
and I'm talking about real recent, as we seem to be falling apart, right? And the men are now wanting to blame someone. They're blaming us. The women are like, "Look, get up. Let's move forward." These young men don't have no reason to be tired. They're young, just like you're young. Now I'm older, right? I am in my 50s, and yes, so I know a lot about the history that they talk about, that they claim happened, that didn't happen. They don't have no reason to be tired. They're just lazy and scared. Okay, that's what they are.
That's what you think?
No, that's what I know. Like, just like you said, they don't want to fight. But if they are your age, right, 21 to 35, then what fight are they so tired of fighting when they weren't fighting? My parents the look, Martin Luther King died before I was born, the year I was born, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
So these young people, y'all not marching nowhere why they haven't been marching all their life to be tired of that.
Yeah. And I
They just,
think actually I'm so sorry I get sidetracked all the time, but I never tied up my conclusion. But let me finish that, and then I'll address what you just ended off on. So yeah, I was just saying that black men are angry at their mother for giving birth to them in the situation that they're already. If it had been where everybody was equal, you know, we weren't getting judged on the color of our skin. Do you think? I want you to honestly tell me an answer, guys. Do you think that there would be half as much as dating out? Do you think there would be I'm going to tell you right now, there would be more unity because you don't have to struggle together, because it's not is well, you're always going to have to struggle for something, but as a community we be more together. There's not going to be half of people giving up, because what you giving up on? The fight has already been fought. We won. We equal now. Everything's good. But it's the circumstance. You don't want to be. It's like having a baby in the middle of a war field.
Mm.
That child never getting an opportunity to go to college, never getting an opportunity to play outside on a lawn, on a freshly mowed lawn with their brothers and sisters that they could have potentially had as well. And they grow up resentful. Why did you birth? They have one question in their mind. Why did you give birth to me if we were in the circumstances that we are in? I don't want to struggle. But as babies, we don't have the opinions that we have now in adulthood.
Hi, are you allowed to
Yes, Benny, you want to jump in? Go for it.
Yeah, so obviously RIP to Kevin Samuels. I do not have any strong feelings towards the man, but I would say that I do agree with the rhetoric that he did give half truths, and as I think the other lady said, he was disingenuous, and I agree. I think the trouble with people like Kevin Samuels, and I think the Bible says it, that to be careful of sheep in wolf clothing, is there's people who come across really well spoken, and I think he understood the idea of branding himself in a certain way to possess the character he did. But we all know that the way he spoke to women was degrading. I don't know any race that's online as we are as Black people doing what Kevin Samuels does. And I think that should say something in itself, to have women call in, rate them, tell them what they deserve, or, where their life would be. I think that's really interesting. And I mean, when people say Black women should be held accountable, my question to Black women would be, why are you comfortable with being placed in that position of allowing somebody to talk to you in that manner? I think that's the only issue or only thing we need to sort of like look at in terms of the Black woman. Because he was degrading. He wasn't trying to empower those women. And I get there are some men who are saying, okay, some of them had this superficial outlook and standards. Fair. But you could tell somebody in a manner that they feel empowered and they can go away and feel like they learned something. His delivery, his messaging was just negative. And what I worry the most about his passing, I think what Kevin Samuels has showed us is there's a gap. A lot of these Black men need a mentor, clearly. That maybe this Black man needs somebody, who's a man who could speak to them, but definitely not Kevin Samuels. And I think he just showed that there's a gap there. There's men who need to be spoken to be shown how to be a man and what they need to look for in a woman, because they're just not sure. I think that's what it is. I'm not so familiar with the Manosphere and what that, what that is. But what I find disheartening is there's a division between Black men and Black women. And that's definitely ungodly. We come from this disposition of the Black man did this, or I hate this, or you are doing this. That's a problem, because you're just creating just animosity between the two sexes. And I think also Kevin Samuels reached out to a certain type of person. I mean, let's be honest, like the type of people who were calling in were not necessarily, this is the hard part about it being online. You can't actually say the truth. Like they were, if somebody goes viral for saying high value, and high value is based on money and material things, they obviously are not themselves quality people. They're not looking for something substantial. So he reached out to a crowd maybe that in itself are lost. And as we move forward, I think that's where we need to start tapping into to try and challenge these people's views, maybe in a way that changes their mindset in a positive manner rather than because I mean he's gone now. It's what do we do next? Where do we move forward? And I love what the lady indicated about, you know, obviously the current black man is younger and there's no fight that they've had. It's true. And I think that's the reason why we're here, because people have forgotten the history, how we got here, the black story. That in itself is sort of like, you know, nobody wants to discuss that because people don't want to think about that pain. A lot of times I think that the new black man wants to do whatever they want to do without an accountability, and they have more access, they have more advantage in terms of, you know, they can date outside the race much easily because there's that privilege. Yeah, and they're desired more because of social media. So I think black women in a way are stuck in this place where they feel like, okay, what next? And are loyal to something that is not there anymore. And maybe that's where we need to move away from. It's just, I think you said something earlier on about elevating yourself, and it goes on both sides. You know, just focus on you, focus on being a better version of yourself. And ideally, we all want to date in the race, but should you be loyal to something that's dysfunctional?
That's a key question right there. I appreciate it, Perry. Oh, hold on before you go, Bomb Cherry. I'm gonna give you 1 minute just to surmise because there's a lot of people waiting now in my inbox. So, Bomb Cherry, give a 1 minute summary. If you want to talk on back of what she said, or you want to talk about something separate, you go for it. But then I'm gonna step you down, unfortunately.
Okay, I understand. I understand, my brother. So I just want to say that I appreciate what you're doing right now, and I agree with the young lady, and I agree with the young lady who was just speaking as well. And we do need to figure out what we need to do. And right now, the Manosphere, I know some of you don't know what the Manosphere is, but that's where Kevin comes out of, and that's where the issue is. You know, the issue is within that. Somebody asked the question, though, and then I'm going to get off. You asked the question, why some of those women would go up there. You notice how some of the women, they were up there, he was verbally abusing them. And they didn't even understand that. They accepted that. And, you know, we are wounded people. There are some of us who don't even know any better, like, because our parents spanked us and then they told us they love us because they spanked us, and they were like, I wouldn't beat you if I didn't love you. And some people took that over and above and abused their children. And then now we have a group of, listen, we are black people, we are hurting and we need counseling. And some of those women and some of these young men, they don't know. My generation, I blame my generation to a degree, right? And that's because we are the ones who came out, like, although I'm 50, my parents were baby boomers. I'm a generation X, right? And we are the new, you know, rap just started hitting when I was a kid and things like that.
Last 10 seconds, Bomb Cherry. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'll move. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, listen, I'm going to be in the chat listening, and I may come back up if you need some more people to come up, okay?
Don't worry.
And keep doing your thing, baby. Keep doing your thing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Bomb Cherry. Appreciate it. Danny, I'm going to give you a minute to surmise quickly, and then I'm going to have to ask you to step down. So give us a quick minute summary, and then I'll step you down.
Yeah. Well, I don't agree with the idea that black men I don't think as a group they're terrible. I think there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of abuse. I don't think anybody really talks about the amount of abuse that black women go through, and they think, and some of them even think that it's normal. Like we're like, okay, well, I stuck through this man for 55 years. I did all this. I had his kids. I did all this. Okay, but what did you get at the end of the day, ma'am?
Mm.
Ring. He went to the grave with 12 other children outside the marriage. What did you get? Nothing. I don't think that. Dang, I missed the point. Let me before I hop off here. Let me tell you,
You
Kevin.
got 10 seconds, Danny. You got 10
Okay,
seconds.
Kevin Samuels. He tried to convince a lady that it was okay to ignore children who are claiming sexual assault.
Yeah.
That was horrifying. So please talk about that, please.
We will indeed, Danny. Thank you so much, Danny. Wisdom in abundance as well. So we appreciate you. No matter what age anybody is here, we appreciate you.
Right.
Out of the mouth of babes, as the Bible says. So yeah, we appreciate you, Danny. Thank you. All right, let me get my next people on. I'm gonna. Okay, cool. Okay, we've got Tim. We've got Simple Love. Tim, I know you've been waiting for a long time. You wanted to share your points. Just want to let you know, guys, before we start talking. Before we start talking, Tim, no swearing.
No swearing.
And we don't tap panelists. But flow on, bro. I think you got me in the background, bro.
I do. Hold on. Thought you was off. Hold on.
That's all right, bro. I think I'm still on.
Turn your
You
speaker
go ahead,
off.
Simple.
Okay, you're gonna figure it out. No worries. Simple Love, talk to us. All right, he'll figure it out and then we can get back on. Go for it, Simple Love.
Oh, I don't want to interrupt. I'm your biggest fan from Nebraska. That's the first thing I want to say. And wow, I've been writing down a lot of things. I'll try to hurry.
No worries.
The biggest thing that I heard from the ladies on the panel, I'm sorry to say this, I'm a Black woman. It's self-hate. I mean, the last thing that the young lady said was, I don't think Black men as a group are too terrible. It's like, how can you think that way about someone of your own complexion? And then she was talking, Miss Penny, no, not Miss Penny, I'm sorry, the woman with the Superwoman avatar. She was saying how the people of this generation are so tired and they haven't been in a fight. Well, the fight that's going on now is not like what happened in the 1960s and the 1950s. There's a lot of weaponry going on online. There's a lot of things being thrown at us, recommended to us that we did not ask for. A lot of visuals that we are being forced to see without even looking for it. You can see Black men and women being killed online more than you can see of any color. So this is a different kind of war that's going on, and different kind of fight. And so for us to compare ourselves to the fight that was going on when you had to go and protest and walk is just completely nonsensical, in my opinion. I also wanted to say that I think one of the biggest horrors is when I hear people saying the fight and the plight and the pain that we have from slavery and how we got here, even though, yes, all life started on the continent of Africa, the motherland. I think that when we start to learn our history and do our ancestry and realize that a lot of us have our last names not because of slave owners. A lot of us were here before Europeans arrived. A lot of us were pushed down to the Caribbean islands. Once we start to know that, we'll stop this victim kind of, felt like there were a bunch of victims online that were just on your panel. And no, life isn't perfect and things aren't perfect. And I don't want to seem like I'm looking down on them, but this victimhood and this acting like we're still fighting, life is what you make it, point blank and period. There's a lot of things that we look up online or we watch online for entertainment that is damaging to our energy and to our spirit. And once you start to realize that you need to just be grounded in reality and look at what's going on around you and separate yourself, even if you tap into things going on online, separate yourself and say, okay, this is what's going on in this state, but in my life, it's peaceful. I'm blessed. I'm safe. Thank God. It's just, there's like a mix up. The
the internet and reality is getting mixed up, and it's kind of scary, actually. So that's all I have to say. But I do love you, Kojo.
I appreciate
Very
you.
much. Would you ever cross the pond?
You know what? I don't know. You know, it's a bit
You have
sticky
to come to
still.
Nebraska. No, you have to
Nebraska.
come.
Whoo, I mean that
I'm
name
always in your
sounds silly.
comments stalking you. I'll stop though. I love you.
That's all right. Don't worry. Continue. You're good. Love, simple love. Thank you very much for your thoughts.
Bye, you
I appreciate
guys.
it.
All
Thank
right,
you.
simple love.
Tim
Bye.
Walker, talk to me. Talk to me, Tim Walker. What are you saying?
All right, what's going on, brother? What's going on?
What's going on,
I
brother?
heard a few comments up here, and I just caught you. I think this is like I seen you before on YouTube, but I never clicked your live stream, so this is my second time seeing you.
Beautiful.
But as far as the lady Bomb Cherry, I think that was her name. As far as the last thing she talked about black folk being raised with abuse, and they start to normalize that abuse as love. I actually agree with that. That's something I've spoke on before. How children being abused in the black community as children with the beatings and the switches, that kind of normalizes it from their parents and makes them think that that's what love looks like. So it's only normal for them to grow up and chemically change in their brain and make them opt for a woman who's abusive or opt for a man who's abusive. So I could completely agree with that part of the argument. The problem I have is if you are a woman who supports any rhetoric Cynthia G says, then you completely lose the moral high ground when it comes to Kevin Samuels. Completely. This woman actively advocates for the genocide of black male babies.
I remember she said that. I ain't gonna lie, Chuck. Do you remember that she did say that?
So if you actively are advocating for the genocide of an entire group of babies that have done nothing to anyone, only for the sole purpose of their skin color and that they're born male, do you have no moral high ground in anything that KS has ever said? Anything. That man has never said anything like that. You can pull up all types of clips calling black women ugly, fat. He's never said anything like that. That's the real Hitler. Cynthia G is speaking like the real Hitler. But no one, and I haven't even heard you call her out on that, like you calling out Kevin Samuels. This is what I'm saying. This is the hypocrisy I think a lot of men see. And it's why a lot of men don't take brothers and sisters like you all on this panel kind of seriously, because we just see the hypocrisy in that. And
so wait, hold on. So
yeah.
I agree with you, by the way. I haven't really watched much of Cynthia G's content, to be honest. I just seen one or two clips, and I don't like any. For me, energy is a big thing. Yeah. Okay, so you spoke about Cynthia G, fine, fantastic, but you brought almost an equilibrium in terms of trying to say, if you support Cynthia G, I can't really support you. That thing. What are your thoughts on Kevin Samuels? Without
my thoughts on Kevin,
yeah.
Okay, well, my thoughts on Kevin Samuels. Well, I see a lot of women. I can see how a lot of women, especially black women, could disagree with his talking points, and I could see how a lot of black men can disagree with some of Cynthia G's talking points. But the point I'm making is, if we're gonna compare, it's no comparison. But
what specifically do you
what I'm saying? Okay, well, I'm getting to the point. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, as far as black women feeling offended by Kevin Samuels' talking points, it's like a lot of the times accountability feels like hatred. Now, when he tells you that let your man cheat, that's stupid. I can understand that. When he said, but it's the I think they have a mix up of what he meant by high value. See, I caught a few of his lives, and what he means by high value is sexual marketplace value. I see a lot of people are saying high value as in moral value, which is I completely agree with. Money has nothing to do with being morally high in your value as a human being. But what he was talking from a worldly perspective. A lot of this stuff on YouTube and online is coming from a worldly perspective. He was a worldly man. So when he told women that men sexually looked at you for your looks over your money, that's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
When he told men that women sexually look at you for how you look, your height, your dick size, and your money, that's a fact.
Yeah.
So why these women are debating it, I don't know. I just think
that part.
I believe me, I've seen women debate that, but it's just the fact that when he tells women, look, what do you rank yourself? And when they give themselves a ranking and he just kind of adjusts it, that's his opinion. You literally ask this. That's like me going to a modeling agency or whatever agency and asking them, what do you rank me? No, what do I rank myself? I rank myself a 6, but what do you rank me? And if they tell me a 3, I can't really get mad at them for telling me how they feel about me, because I went up on that platform and asked them. So for you to lash out at him, I'm not specifically saying you, but for any woman to lash out at him for women going up to his platform for an entire 2 years after already knowing what he was about is stupid as hell. It's stupid as hell. And it's not like it slowed down. It's not like it kind of eased out. It literally built up over time. He grew faster than damn near the fastest growing YouTuber right now that I have ever seen. This man skyrocketed to like 1.4 million subscribers and what, like a year? Where they do that at? If he was evil, why would you constantly visit his platform? Because you obviously knew he was giving you some type of truth that you wasn't getting anywhere else.
Is that why he became so big? That's not why someone becomes big. They don't have to be good necessarily.
I don't know nobody that's trash that becomes big. I don't know no trash rapper that becomes big.
No, it's not the trash. It is what he's talking about. Trash is different from in terms of the quality. His quality is amazing. He puts out good quality in terms of what we're talking about in terms of production wise. We're talking about
he obviously gives good advice to these women because a lot of them women said that he helped them out. But I see a lot of people like they ignore those women though. They only go to the women who feel triggered.
So you would send your daughter to Kevin Samuels to get advice?
No, I would not send my daughter. I wouldn't send nobody to Kevin Samuels. I'm talking about the women who volunteer up there.
No.
That's their fault.
Oh wait, come back. I'm confused. Hold on, come back.
I wouldn't send my daughter to you.
Okay, come back. What are your thoughts on Kevin Samuels again?
I said Kevin Samuels told his opinion. He gave him his true, honest feelings about him, and they took it. Some of them took it for the better, and some of it took them to get triggered for the worse. That's their fault. Okay, either way that pendulum swing is their fault.
What's your judgment on Kevin Samuels? Good, bad?
I think he was a brilliant brother.
Okay, so brilliant brother, fantastic. Now we can so let's start from there. Brilliant brother. But you wouldn't send your daughter to get advice from him.
I wouldn't send my daughter to get advice from you or him. Why? That's not the point. Because you're YouTubers.
So who would you send your daughter to get advice from then?
A qualified professional, a therapist, something he recommended to a lot of those women.
Okay. So you would send your daughter to a qualified therapist, right?
If my daughter had a problem, I would send her to a licensed therapist.
Okay. I didn't say like, I wasn't talking about a therapy aspect, I'm talking about, let's say he says himself as a relationship expert. So relationship advice, your daughter says she went to Kevin.
That man never said he was a relationship expert. That man said he was an image consultant from what I've seen. That's all he ever said. Yeah. They gave him that title.
Consultant giving relationship advice. Come on, let's not be disingenuous. He was
he was giving relationship advice. Okay, but they came to him for relationship advice. That is their fault. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Why would I ask the damn pizza man for a burger? That's stupid.
But the pizza man is giving you a burger. So what you do? What
exactly? But why would I ask? Why would I go to a pizza shop and ask him to make me a burger?
No, because he's selling.
That makes no sense.
That's the point. No. Okay, so let me make it very frank. You're saying obviously. Okay, let's ignore that analogy because we're gonna get lost. Let's just stick with the fact that what was he doing? Was he giving out relationship advice? Let's just agree on that.
Yes.
Was he or was he?
Yes. He was giving out relationship advice.
Let's not go anywhere. I just want to just work it slowly but slowly. So he was giving relationship advice. We can both agree on that,
Yes.
right? Okay,
Yes.
fantastic. So when people are coming to him, were they coming to him for relationship advice?
Yes.
Okay, so that's how I'm judging him on, and the fact that he was giving relationship advice. That's what he was saying he was giving. That's all.
He was giving his opinion on how they looked and what they thought about relationships. His image side gave him the opinion on what he rated them.
I agree.
And the relationship advice is some extra shit that they decided to ask him. For what reason, I have no idea. But you cannot fault him for women asking him something he never said he was.
So
Stupidity.
We can't fault him. No, just say that
You
last part
cannot
again.
fault him. You cannot fault him for women asking him advice for something he never claimed he was.
So you're saying he never claimed he
Can I
was
add
involved in
something? Because
relationship?
I think I agree with Team
He
at
never
some
claimed
point.
he
At some
was a
point.
relationship expert, man.
Team, can we agree on something?
Hold on, sorry, Penny. Before you jump in, I just want to follow because I want to follow his line exactly,
Mhm.
right? So he never claimed he was into relationship. It doesn't matter if he
He
claimed it or
never
not.
claimed he was a relationship expert
on.
nowhere.
I'm not a relationship expert either, but you will judge me on the fact that I give relationship advice. It doesn't make a difference. What was he selling? That's why I want us to agree on this, because what you're kind of doing is shifting the Venn diagram.
Bro, I'm not shifting anything.
What did he sell? You agreed with me and said he did relationships. That's what he was selling.
Bro,
right?
I said he said he was an image consultant. He never said he was a relationship expert.
It's not about what he said he was. What was he doing?
I thought this topic was about what he said and what he was doing. I thought this topic, that's what this topic was about.
So the question is, what was he doing? So what was he doing?
He was an image consultant giving relationship advice to women who came on his platform and asked him for relationship advice.
So when he was doing the relationship stuff, that's how we're judging him on. Whether he said it was an image consult, whether he said he was blue in the face, what we're judging him on is what he was giving out. That's the product.
His opinion.
That's the service. And as the service was
his
being given,
opinion.
we judge the service. Whether it's an opinion,
the man was not selling
hold on.
His opinion about relationships.
Hold on. What he was selling, because what he was selling was relationship advice. That's what he was giving.
He was not selling no relationship advice, bro. Where on his Patreon or anywhere that it says relationship advice $500?
Selling, bro. I don't literally mean selling, bro. I don't literally
mean. So what are
selling.
you talking about?
Listen to okay. So when we say selling, it doesn't literally mean I mean selling.
So what do you mean by selling it?
What I mean by that is what he was giving people as a product and a service. Do you know what I mean? It's if that's what his product and his service. What, you don't understand that?
That wasn't his product. Product means you're selling it to gain money from it.
Okay.
It's something you sell to gain money from. That's a product.
Okay, so
he was not selling relationship advice.
Okay, let's leave that part alone then. Let's talk
to please.
Okay, yourself. So you said that Kevin Samuels is good at what he does.
Image consultant. Yes.
Image consultancy, right? Okay.
He was an image consultant that made buku money. Yes.
Okay, so he was giving relationship advice on this stuff, right? So talking to people about relationship stuff. Okay. So now he's giving the relationship advice to people. People are coming to him. And I said, if we judge him on that advice he was given, what would be your judgment? You said neither myself or him, you would send your child to send to a therapist. But just for even relationship advice, you wouldn't send it to Kevin Samuels.
No.
Okay, fantastic. We can agree on that now. Now, I'm going to say this particular point, which is this. I'm going to judge him on the advice that he's given as relationship advice. Now, the advice he gave, for instance, like domestic discipline, I believe is detrimental not only to the person who he's talking to, but the wider community of people. Would you agree?
I mean, that's your opinion, brother. I mean, I don't know exactly what he said.
Okay, so let me give you what domestic discipline is so you can give us an answer. Domestic discipline is when two consenting adults agree that the wife will be disciplined by the husband physically. So I'm asking you, do you agree with that particular sentiment?
So that's BDSM. I agree with people doing whatever they want to do. That's BDSM.
It's not sexual. This is about how someone gets disciplined. If it was BDSM, I would have said that. It's not sexual.
If you said the wife agrees with getting spanked, beat, hit, whatever from her husband, that's BDSM, bro.
No, as discipline. It is not.
It's a whole bunch of freaky people out here that go to get down like that. A whole bunch. If that was the case, pornos like that would be illegal.
It's not sexual. I keep telling you, this is not a sexual
So what?
situation.
So what is it? What is it?
We're talking about if you can't get a simple concept, we actually can't talk. And I'm not even trying to be rude, but we're just not on the same
No,
level.
I'm
not even
saying
being
I get your
disrespectful.
simple concept. I'm just letting you know that it
You're not
sounds like
getting it.
BDSM.
You're intentionally going into BDSM. You're being disingenuous. Then, if you get what I'm saying,
But
you're
how is
intentionally
that
being disingenuous.
disingenuous when if they both
Which that's
agree?
what I'm talking about. Like, I'll
So
give you one
so
more
if they
chance.
both agree,
If you genuinely have this conversation, be sensible. Just be sensible, because
bruh,
you're saying
I'm
you get
being
it.
sensible. You're just getting triggered because I'm not saying what you want me to say.
No,
It sounds like BDSM to me. I'm sorry. That's what it
Mm.
sounds like.
Okay. Tim, do you know what? I think it's been good, but I think we're missing each other. We're not going to have a proper conversation. I don't think we're getting the concepts easily. You know
It's
what I
all
mean?
good, brother. It's
Yeah.
all good.
I appreciate you, bro. All right.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm gonna have to let you go on this one. Safe. Thank you very much, sir. Whoo, Chile. God damn. I had to struggle to get that one. God damn. SK, talk to me, baby. What are you saying? Sorry, I've muted you. My bad. Talk to me.
Hey, Kojo. Sorry about all the facial expressions.
That's okay.
But if I couldn't respond, that's what you were gonna get from me.
Baby, man.
I just want to say for the record, before I say my little piece, that is not what BDSM is. BDSM is not abuse. It's something completely different, and there are a lot of people who don't know or understand what it is. That's all I want to say. Okay, for that part, anyway. Yeah.
I think Kojo is muted.
Yeah, I can't hear
How
you.
am I muted? My bad. I'm so sorry, guys. Sorry.
I thought it was me.
I'm still in a state of shock from Tim. My bad. SK, talk to us. What's your thoughts on this particular situation? How do you feel about the Kevin Samuel situation? And, you know, what's your experiences if you want to talk about that?
Okay, so I have a bit of a unique view on the whole Kevin Samuel situation, simply because so I grew up in the house every day with a Jamaican country, and when I say country, I mean country music, Bible toting alpha father. And when I say alpha, I mean he was alpha among alphas. Anytime he walked into any room, everyone immediately gravitated towards him. He was that type of person. So a lot of the things that I heard him say growing up was very blunt, straight to the point. He was trying to prepare us for the world. The world does not care about your feelings. Don't tell me what you think. Tell me what happened. If you're going to speak to me, speak in a very specific way. Like all of that stuff. That's how my dad spoke to us. And he would always say to us, at the end of your life, when you look in the mirror, you're the person who created whatever the image is going to be. So you need to do this and you need to do that. That's how my father was. So when I heard a lot of Kevin Samuel's initial videos and things like that, a lot of people were getting up in arms, and I was just like, okay, yeah, so like that's because he sounded like my dad. Like my dad would say a lot of the stuff that he said, but the problem was because he was giving so much truth, and I think we had not only one generation but several generations of Black men who grew up in households without a father, without someone who's going to be there telling them those blunt truths. Them hearing it on this video from this man, knowing that that was true, they were like, oh yes. But the problem was Kevin Samuels was toxic. So he was going to start slipping in some of the poison in with the truth. So people are scooping in the truth, and after a while they don't even realize that the truth has run out, and they're just scooping in poison now. It's all pure poison. That's why there are so many people hanging on to what Kevin Samuel said. But no, he was right. No, he was right. Yeah, he was right about a lot of things, and he told you a blunt truth that nobody told you before in your life. Yes, that is correct. But the problem is he was also giving you a whole lot of toxic masculinity that you don't know how to separate, you know? So we saw it happen before in the 80s where There were gangs everywhere. Why? There were no fathers in the home. People want someone to look up to. You have a lot of depictions of Black women on television and on media were the nagging mother, either the nagging mother or the Jezebel, the nagging mother or the Jezebel, the woman who can conquer the world and doesn't need a man. Like, all of that stuff was force fed us through the 80s and the 90s, to the point where a lot of these men grew up because their only contact was with their mothers, being that authoritarian figure, because there was no father in the home. Boom. Now, all their problem is women have to be accountable. Why do women have to be accountable? If you feel like Black women need to be accountable, you need to go and have conversations with the Black women in your life, because there is something that has happened that you would like them to be accountable for. Not every random woman walking down the street is supposed to be held accountable for something. And when I say that, I'm saying that from my personal experience. Like, I'm in South Florida right now. So between Kevin Samuels and, unfortunately, Fresh and Fit, those podcasts, there has been a lot of conversation. So as a single woman being here, like, I've had a lot of my own stresses, but I finally, like, put the time, said, okay, I need to put myself out there. I really need to make an effort to try and meet someone, build myself up, all these things. But then when you're having conversations with these men, I mean, men with 5 kids, different baby mamas, looking at me like, well, I'm the prize. And I'm like, I'm sure you're valuable to everybody who needs you, but at the same time, you can't just run around screaming about every man thinking that they're a high value man, every man thinking that they're the alpha. And I think a lot of that comes from, men have started gravitating in smaller and smaller groups. I mean, I don't know if it's just South Florida, but I rarely see large groups of men anymore. So when there's only you and your best friend, of course, one of the two of you is going to think he's the alpha, but you haven't run into a real alpha, so you don't know what that's like. So there's so many of them walking around, and every single man says, well, I'm an alpha, I'm an alpha. And like I said at the beginning, when I started talking, I grew up with an alpha and alphas. I know what an alpha looks like. And it's like, sir, not everybody is an alpha. Not everybody gives that energy. Not everybody commands that attention, because there's a responsibility that comes with that. So you have a lot of people screaming, I'm an alpha, I'm an alpha. Listen to what I say, do what I say. Not understanding what BDSM is, thinking that it's abuse. And it's just a bunch of reckless relationships. So that's what I want to say.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying, especially about the father figure, being do you know what I mean? And I think that's also an important part to recognize as well, for some people, that, some of the women that might have been going there, that might have been a useful rhetoric that they used to, you know what I mean, in terms of the tone. And a lot of us as Black people have experienced parental figures in our life who are still acting as slaves. So it's almost like we're still trying to thrive. We're trying to find our way to thriving, but we're still acting as if we're slaves. So a lot of the way that we talk and the rhetoric and even the tone and the energy, and how we even produce concepts to our children, is of a slave mindset. So when you hear someone else then kind of repeating that elsewhere, it can be kind of familiar, like, oh, I can take that because my dad also, or my mom maybe spoke that kind of way, where it's very harsh. And sometimes when you hear some of these people's parents talk, you're like, whoa, does your parent talk to you like that? Like, yeah, it's normal. Like, it's normal. Nah, I'm fine. I'm like, you fine? You sure? Because baby, like the way
But when that happens, that means that the parent has said much worse, like much more reckless stuff. And they're just like, this is Tuesday. What are you talking about? So it's really a lot of stuff like that. And then I know what you said, with Black people, we have that situation, and it really comes from slavery. All the corporal punishment, where you feeling like you have to beat your child to keep them in line. What does that come from? That comes from a lot of parents, especially in the United States. It comes from a lot of parents who had to deal with their brother getting snatched up in the night because he stepped out of line. He forgot to be courteous to some white man somewhere, and he went and wound up his posse. Like, one of my really great friends, I went to school at an HBCU. She told me about her family. Like, she went to her family's plot, like where they had all the grave sites and things like that. And she was able to find out about which relatives were lynched back in the, like, and so this is portions of the family that have just been siphoned off. If you lift your head up too high, oh, we cutting that right off. What does that tell everybody else to do? Bow. So it's things like that we all have to change up our mindset and start thinking outside the box. Especially, okay, I'll say one other thing. So, like, growing up in the 80s in South Florida to Jamaican migrant parents, they expect things to be one way because they're from the countryside in Jamaica. Of course, teachers were going to push you. Of course, you know, you're going to be fine. As long as you don't steal, you're going to be fine. Who could look at you as if you're a thief? Like, that's how they grew up because they didn't have to think about the fact that they were Black. So I was born here, but when they were here raising us in this country, going to school, if teachers put me in the back because I was a Black student and put all their attention on all the white children, I didn't know how to say that to them. You know what I'm saying? So I think, like, with a lot of this stuff, we as Black people need to think about how much of our experience actually comes from these adverse interactions that we need to seek help for, that we need to get counseling for, that we need therapy for.
I'm hearing you, SK. I'm hearing you. Good vibes. I like it. Thank you. Penny, you want to jump in quickly?
Yeah, before
yeah.
I set off. I mean, I think I'll sound controversial because SK, I truly hear you, and I sympathize with your experience and so forth. As somebody who's not had such a strong masculine voice in the way that you describe it as, I do feel for you because I think I think that makes sense as to you help me understand why some of these women were calling in, because for me, I just can't get it. I feel like when you have somebody who's loving, especially a man, they want to protect. And I don't think the message from Kevin Samuels came from a place of protection and care and love and tenderness. And especially for his age, I would expect that. And I know. So anyways, so I do sympathize, and maybe I now get why women were calling, because my question was why, you know, we kind of have to look at why these women were calling. And I maybe did agree with Tim in that space, because he was right in saying, at the end of the day, these women did call on their own accord. They weren't being forced, and that's fair. He's not lying. I think it's just what the messaging he was putting out and the audience he got. Unfortunately, that's still toxic. We can't change that. And he is on a platform, and there is a responsibility that comes with it. Whether people want to say there is and there is. I don't know about the woman that he was talking about, and I think that's the problem that I'm trying to say is, when you have people like Kevin Samuels, you also breed a woman like the Cynthia person. I don't know who she is. I've never listened to her, because you're creating animosity, you're creating division between the sexes. And unfortunately, we are not each other's enemies. And when we start doing that, we're just falling prey to the devil's plan. He wants us to hate each other. He wants us to think of each other as a problem. And we're seeing that with that Cynthia J person is doing, because now she's becoming a female toxic person who's asking for Black men to be killed, and that's not healthy, because you need Black men, or you need men in general, to interbreed and all that, you know, all that stuff. So I wouldn't stand for her too. I think she's just as bad as Kevin Samuels. Moving forward, I think, like I said, I think there's what Kevin Samuels has shown us, there's a gap. If we're truly trying to move forward and actually, you know, we made a mistake. We realized that, you know, we opened the door to something and maybe it wasn't working. The gap is there's mentorship needed, and healthy mentorship. And we should not be attracted to charisma. I think Kevin Samuels was very charismatic. I mean, you got people like, what was her name? Nicki Minaj calling in. those are not poor people. Those are not people who are like, she has money. She called in and asked him to rate her. That shows to you that there was something about him, the audience he had, the platform he had, that people looked up to him. He's charismatic. And the Bible warns us about characters like that. Like, don't fall prey. I think people fell prey to him. And now it's just saying, okay, there's a gap now. There's mentorship that's required, but that's healthy. And if men can step into that space and reach out to this man, hopefully we can make a change. If not, we're going to keep breeding people like Kevin Samuels, and the battle is going to continue going on, which is sad because it's impacting our generation, even though I didn't actually think he had that much of an audience until now. The influence he had on young people, social media, I was like, wow, this guy was really respected. Like, people really thought he was doing the right thing, when really, to me personally, he wasn't. That's all I have to say. Hey,
Sorry, my bad. I keep forgetting. I'm sorry, Penny. I apologize. I was just saying I was going to remove you from the stage. Thank you, Penny, for that contribution. I apologize about that again once more. Let me get it. Nicole S. What's your thoughts there? You can unmute yourself and give us your thoughts. What are you saying?
Good evening. How's everyone tonight?
We are good, sis. How you doing?
Thank you for bringing me in. And I first want to let everybody know that my thoughts and what I express is from a place of peace and compassion. I'm a 57-year-old woman, and I just want to say I'm even shaking holding the phone because I figured there is either something I don't understand about YouTube or this new era. But what I'm seeing is someone that was crying for help and it's been missed. I think if we think of children very early on, when you think of the word emotional intelligence, if you think about when we're raising children from the early stages, we purposefully teach them about integrity, character, values, and how to learn to interact with others. If you think about children now, we encourage them to not call other people names, to develop themselves from inside, not external. And I think we're missing it. I feel that Kevin Samuels was screaming for help. And I think sometimes when people are screaming the loudest, but if you look logistically at what he was saying, it never matched what he is. And I feel that him even using YouTube as a platform was sort of a demise of what he was feeling.
Oh, sorry, Nicole. Just pull the if you're using the phone, just pull it slightly away from yourself.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good. It's just because your breath was catching on the mic as well, so that's why.
Okay,
but you're good.
I just feel that he was crying for help. Just because people make the most noise doesn't mean that they're the most confident. All you have to do is look at their actions. And I'm 57, like Mr. Samuels, and my father's 97 years old, and I still report to my father. I still have to account to my father about how I interact with others in my life. My job, my career, the way I go about my life, I was never allowed to discourage, deplete, disparage anyone, because that is a reflection of my own low self-esteem. So I'm confused as to how people are not pushing the pause button and just asking yourself, just individually, what playground, starting with third graders, can you go on and you hear little children speak that way and it's allowed? There's a reason for it. Number two, if you look globally, you go around the world, there are all different shades of people and sizes, particularly in Africa. You've got the word high value. You've got people of all levels of incomes. You've got princes, kings, all sizes and weights. They have money galore. but it was never about how much money you possess that determines what's high value. And I feel that Kevin was failed by his own inner circle, by his family, by his friends. Because if anyone were truly his friend, they would have said, wait, slow down. You could still earn a living. You could still generate income. You could still monetize. But who are you? And when you speak, that's it. The word is out. And you're supposed to use your life to bring purpose, bring meaning to other people. But when you're spewing this kind of hate and rhetoric and you're calling it, oh, it's just my job. Come on, you guys. It's not even a matter of demeaning him. It's a matter of this man was screaming for help. He was hurting. And I feel that he didn't have anyone that just stopped him to say, don't do that. Because I don't see how anyone would want this to be their legacy. And notice what I'm saying, sir. No healthy being, healthy functioning, emotionally intelligent person, even me at 57, I would never want to degrade anyone. And if you look at what Kevin was doing, it's literally on the borderline of what we as people of color would say, if a white person did it to us, that's racism. Somebody get the racist police to put an end to this. He can't talk to me that way. She can't treat me this way. And my fear, and I'm going to stop here, is I'm wondering if this is a social study on us that we're not aware of, where we're being allowed to just have freedom, because freedom isn't really freedom. And if you look at what we're doing with this freedom among ourselves, and they're watching, and I live in New England, and I'm telling you, my peers who are white go, Nicole, what's going on? And I'm like, what? I don't know how to respond. I can't tell them, oh, it's just jokes. Because when they do the comparison of their peers, they're going, we're not doing that. Why would, he's a smart man. Why doesn't he use that skill to really uplift people? He's brilliant. I'm like, I don't know. But what I do know, when I asked my 97-year-old father, he goes, Nicole, pray for Kevin Samuels. I'm like, Daddy, he's gone. And my concern now is all the other YouTubers out there that are being driven to do this message, and no one is telling them pause. They're not realizing they're being used as a social study, and it's not good. And in the end, it's not benefiting them or society or us people of color. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate Mr. Rogers. Thank you. I said some instant points in there. Okay, thank you, Mr. Rogers. I appreciate that. I said Mr. Rogers, it was Nicole. Apologies.
Nicole.
I said Mr. Rogers. Nicole, sorry,
Nicole.
apologies. I was looking at my left-hand side. Nicole, thank you for that. Yeah, instant points there. Okay, all right. I see the audience also said you ate it still. Thank you. Mr. Rogers, what's your thoughts? Or I should say, yeah.
Hey, Kojo. Hey, panel. So a lot of things. I have a lot of thoughts. I was not a Kevin Samuel supporter, but I did know of him obviously because I'm fascinated by people. I'm fascinated by like the whole cult of personality. Like, how does this stuff happen in our world? And I love to watch stuff like this.
Before you go, Mr. Rogers, before you go, are you on radio? Just your voice is just.
No, I've heard that a lot.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Do I sound like the quiet storm?
Girl, you're giving me KG vibes, like just soulful, just soothing. All right, come on.
I've heard that. I need to go into radio though, for real, make some money on this thing.
Continue. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go on.
Yeah. Okay, because I'm silly. Let me focus. But the thing that just fascinated me about him, because I saw when he kind of blew up, because I really watch YouTube. I don't watch a lot of TV, and what I noticed, these are some of the things that I thought of, in watching him over the last 2 years. I'll indulge y'all with these. First of all, the cult of personality. I likened him to kind of like extreme characters, not necessarily the message, but the extreme energy of like a Donald Trump, of like a Hitler. right? Like where it's just like, where did this personality come from that has just swept the masses just out of nowhere? And these people are convinced like they know him. You know, like if you were to take the color and, you know, the race off of some of these men, you would think you were in the, you know, what they're talking about, you'd be thinking you'd be listening to Trump supporters, you know? The other thing is I felt like he was a pimp in the pulpit. I felt like at a time there were a lot of people, specifically men, who complained about Derek Jackson. I felt like Kevin Samuels was the same type of, you know, person. He was just in the extreme. It was the same thing. And I felt like people were arguing themselves down to nothing. And these were two opposite ends of the same coin. The next thing I felt like he was an agent of chaos. And I felt like what he stirred up was obviously misogyny, but I felt like he spoke a lot of misplaced white supremacy or internalized white supremacy. And I felt like a lot of people just kind of let it slide because he was Black, but you can be Black and, you know, speak a hell of a lot of, you know, white supremacist talking points, and he did. I felt like there's a lot of cognitive dissonance in that community. I was watching you on Saturday, and you had the gentleman come up, and I was actually excited because I have yet to hear, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I have yet to hear a person tell me what they have learned from him without it going, you know, to the dogs. I want to know because I feel like you know, with a million some odd people following this dude, somebody got to be getting something out of it. I have yet to hear exactly what that was. I felt like he was incredibly influential and charismatic, but he just kind of, you know, it was used in the wrong way. And then finally, I just felt like he was a provocateur. And there's one thing that I likened him to. I don't know if anybody has ever been to the Holocaust Museum in DC. If you ever get a chance, go. And I never really understood how Hitler did what he did. I didn't understand it. Like, how did this man start from nothing and then, you know, killed legions of people, millions of people, and how they take you through that museum is chilling. And it's kind of, you can take this very experience and relate it to this, you know, this whole Kevin Samuels situation. I'm not saying they're the same people. I'm not saying it's the same mission, but it's the same energy. And Hitler started just talking, and who he talked to was like really broken people that he could get into and speak their language. And then he started amping it up, and he did speak truth at first, but that truth was steeped in a little bit of, you know, poison, a little bit of, you know, sauce on it, a little bit of something. And then when he got, you know, so many people, he'd amp it up. And then he started writing books. And then he started burning books. And for me, when I got to that part of the museum, I was like, oh, hold up, wait a minute. Like, do these people understand what's going on? And then you can see how literally he went from just talking and rhetoric and propaganda. He started with posters, how he ended up killing legions of peoples. It never was that obvious. It was subtle. And we see the same thing because I live in Atlanta. You're seeing the same things on the dating scene. You're seeing it in the streets where all of a sudden everybody's got these talking points and nobody can really, all these talking points. And I'm like, what is y'all talking about? But nobody can first explain them. And then it just leads to dissension. And finally, I'm going to stop because, you know, I'll get to talking. But if anybody wants to know anything about the legacy of Kevin Samuels, know him by his fruit. And if you look at right now, even in the community, it's divided, it's fractured. And if the head was straight and doing what it was supposed to be, the rest of the followers would be the same. But it's mayhem right now. And that's not, it is what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is. So, you know, I wish our community well. I just know that I'm not frightened. I'm hopeful. But I do know there's a vacuum that's being created. I ain't stupid. While I got hope, there's a vacuum that's being created. And I would hope that a lot of people who are reasonable would listen to both sides because snakes and wolves come in regularly. And there's a lot of lost sheep out there. And there's a lot of wicked shepherds waiting to take them somewhere. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Man, I appreciate the points there, man. You know, I love the thought pattern that you went to as well about how, you know, because I actually read a little bit about Hitler, and you're absolutely right about the writing that he did. He simultaneously did writing whilst moving through the ranks of the hierarchy. And if you listen to the reason why he was in the beginning, why he even wanted to have this cause. It's simply this: the simple fact was power. It was to reinstate Germany back as a power. What
Yes.
was Kevin Samuel trying to do? It wasn't trying to bring the communities together. It's to reinstate black men into a place where women were subservient to black men. And this is why I keep saying about this whole centralizing men into everything in our lives. I said, even me as a man, there's privilege and there's entitlement that sometimes I'm like, oh, that's a bit, oh, I didn't know I had that. I didn't know how that. And that's the same thing he was doing. He was the same thing. It was about, at the beginning, look, we want Germany to be back in the economical powers. We want Germany to be back on top again. It sounds very innocent at the beginning until you realize how he plans to do this. And, you know, he made sure he spoke to certain generals, had certain conversations at certain times. He's a very strategical individual person. And the more power he had, the more strategical he became. And then it got down to a microcosm. I don't know if that's the right word. You know, have to correct me. I'll check my dictionary later on, okay? But it came to a micro level. All right. It came to a macro level where you get to a point where someone can ask a question. So how do you get to a point where you can draw a Jew's nose on a paper, and that can be a propaganda? Well, it starts because you've already embedded into the minds of people this segregational mindset. This is actually very simple cult tactics that people be using, creating us versus them, which is why I said I don't rate Kevin Samuels, because he did what every cult leader does beautifully well. Unfortunately, he's beautifully twisted, which is create an enemy. And the enemy was black women. That's why I cannot get on board with what he says as good advice, because he needed black women to be an enemy in order for him to gain power. The black men needed an enemy to say they are our enemy. Oh, now we have something to fight against. That's why I said about people making it into this righteous and holy war almost. You know, we're trying to keep black women accountable, you know, because our communities are broke. That ain't the reason why you're there, bruh. You ain't there because of that, because you're there for power, right? You ain't there because black women need to be held accountable. You know what I'm saying? You don't even hold your sisters accountable, let alone hold anybody else accountable, but you're trying to hold people accountable on the internet. And so you realize how much more, like you just said, you made a great, beautiful, you know, kind of crossover, better than I even did earlier on with the Hitler and Kevin Samuels example as well. So really love that point as well, Mr. Rogers as well. Before you go again, SK, give us a 1 minute roundup, and then I'm gonna have to remove you and let someone else come on. Give us a quick 1 minute roundup, your thoughts, and we'll get down. Go for it. Oh, you have to unmute yourself. Sorry. Go for it.
So I'm on now. So I forgot all the different points that I thought of when people were saying things, but I want to say one specific thing. Tupac spoke in one of his songs, we have to heal our women, be real to our women. If we don't, we'll have a race of babies that will hate the ladies that made the babies. And it's like, that's literally what we're living through right now. A bunch of men who do not like the women that they even came from, much less the women that are around them, much less the women who are giving life to their own children. So we really need to figure out what's going on in this whole situation, because I mean, it's hard out here. It's hard out here. That's it. Bye guys. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it, SK. Thank you so much. Ooh, remove that. Fantastic. All right, we've got another gentleman on, Mr. Z, Black and Effect. Good to have you on board. What's your thoughts, sir, on the topic we're discussing, sir?
Hello. Oh, it's good. Okay, miss. Oh, thank you for having me up.
No, it's
I wanted to speak to SK too, because I'm in South Florida also, and I'm a child of Haitian immigrants. And she was saying she was a child of Jamaican immigrants. So, yeah. So, I have some things to say. So I wasn't Kevin's biggest fan, although we occupy much of the same space, the Black Manosphere, and I can answer some of the things that was said earlier.
Yeah, please.
So let's call a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over the past 40 years, there's been a neoliberal experiment in the Western world, right? So we've commodified everything. And what Kevin showed with his broadcast was how that neoliberal assessment has affected how women see men. We have to be honest about the video that blew him up, right? So it was the Average at Best video. That was the one that everybody saw that made him super big. but everybody focuses on Kevin saying average at best. You're average at best, ma'am. Nobody heard when the young lady said, I can't respect the man I make more money than. Nobody heard the woman say, you know, I don't want anybody getting into my business or trying to help me with my business. And then later on, 15 minutes later, saying, when he asked her, what can you do? Well, I can help a man with his business. Nobody heard the hypocrisy, her retracting her statements. No one heard any of that, right? So why I'm bringing all of this up in this conversation is to say, Kevin was a response to Oprah Winfrey and Ricky Lake and Sarah Raphael, I can't remember exactly her name, all the talk shows in the 90s, all the music in the 90s. See, we talk about hip hop and we talk about hip hop's misogyny and its sexism, and we never talk about R&B's maybe misandry towards black men. We never talk about all the talk shows in the 90s that were misandry, right? We never talk about, all of the waiting to excels of the world, right? The color purples of the world, right? The no scrubs of the world, right? He wasn't man enough for me of the world. So, I mean, I can understand black women, and I only date black women. I will only marry a black woman. So I just want to put that out there. I can understand where black women are coming from with this. But what Kevin showed with thousands of interviews is how women see men. And it looked ugly. And nobody has an answer for that. No one has an answer for light skin, dark skin, heavy set, more spelt, long hair, short hair, educated, not educated, money, no money, women across the board, but black women specifically talking about men like we're nothing more than walking wallets and overglorified guard dogs. Everybody's skipping over that part, right? Everybody's skipping over that part. We feel sorry. Oh, Kev, he looked like he's so hurt, and I get it. Yeah. But I wish women could be more sensible. Women could be a fly on the wall when a lot of these guys go on dates with women and they come out the gate with, yeah, so what do you do? What do you drive? How much money do you make? Are you going to buy, why Kevin garnered so much support in such a short amount of time when he started focusing on women. And by the way, from our understanding, women were his biggest supporters, right? Women were his biggest supporters. Why? Because they're tired of all these content creators on YouTube selling them a lie. All that euphemism, and we got to be positive, we got to uplift them. First of all, we've been doing that on the internet for over a decade. We've been doing that, generally speaking, in our overall society for 4 and 5 decades since second wave feminism. I'm not against second wave feminism, but you have to understand what came with that, right? When your daughters start doing better than your sons, but still want to date and marry up, what happens? We already have a white feminist saying straight up, hey, if you want to have the corner office and you want this lifestyle, maybe you might have to marry a man that makes less than you, that'll be the supportive role. And that white feminist herself said that's the stop that every woman gets off on. So Kevin's channel was a response to that, right? So yeah, it was definitely focused more on the black community, but you see these things reflected outside of the black community. When you hear that 60% of college enrollment was women, 40% men, and in the next decade, if we don't fix that trend, it's going to be 66-33. Then what are we saying? That means men in general in America are not there. They don't want to be part of the game no more. They're not going to college. Why are they not going to college? Because they're lazy bums? Is that what we're saying? Or is it that they don't want to be in that space where they're demanded to be self-deprecating, and for you to show that you're a modern 21st century man, you have to be insulting to other men under the guise of constructive criticism and tough love and keeping it real, right? So once again, Kevin was a response to kind of the ravages of some of this neoliberal assessment of masculinity, of some of the kind of pitfalls of second wave feminism. Once again, I'm not against it, right? So he was a response to that, and that's why he garnered so much support from not only black men, we got to be very clear about this, but hordes and tons and thousands, obviously almost a couple million black women, because they're tired of your content creators that don't got nothing but sugary, flowery language. Yeah, girl, all that fake girl empowerment stuff, these women know that ain't real. Why else would they listen? You think all these women have low self-esteem? That's why they're listening to Kevin Samuels? No, they told you why. When they call in, they said, I'm looking for a man that looks like this, that makes this money, that lives like this, that has this type of car. It's not just Kevin. Look at the explosion of this kind of male-centric talk that we've been seeing over the past couple years. Where y'all think that came from? Out of nowhere? No. When you put a camera phone or camera and a speaker in front of many of these women's faces, especially the ones that don't have the the wherewithal to kind of be a little bit more coy with their language, they tell you straight up, I want a man that looks like this, drives this, acts like this. And we all pretend like we don't see that. We all pretend like we don't hear that. We just focus on the men's response to a woman essentially saying, oh, I want a walking wallet and an over glorified guard dog. And the man's response is what we focus on. We completely ignore a woman's kind of market-based assessment of manhood and masculinity. So, a couple of weeks ago, everybody was talking about what Cam Newton said about, these women. But this is a uber wealthy, rich black man, right? Famous. How do you think women are speaking in his presence? Well, if I'm supposed to be super provider, right? If I'm super provider and I'm nothing but a wallet, what do wallets do? They open up and do what? Buy things. You're looking at me. We talk about objectification. Let's talk about objectification. If it's uncouth in the 21st century to objectify a woman for her body, then why is it perfectly okay to objectify a man as nothing but a wallet? And so when Cam Newton responds to that type of energy, obviously when he's going on these dates with these women, when he's going out with these women, then his response to that, everybody has an issue with. Why? Once again, Kevin Samuel's show and the support it garnered shows you why. Once again, mainly from black women. So I can understand why people see this as sexist. He was sexist. He was pushing misogyny. Once again, he turns on a camera. He asks the women to come on. They come on. He doesn't even beg them to come on. He just, hey, open forum, come on and tell me what you think and tell me what you're looking for in men. And when women tell you what they're looking for in men, it looks ugly. I think our society was purposely trying to, you could find another Kevin Samuels, and guess what? It'll still look ugly. It's always going to look ugly when the opposite sex tells you what they're looking for. And none of us want to address the woman's side of things. That's why we hyper focus on Kevin Samuels and this supposed misogyny and, he had this cultive personality. The women came on and told you what they're looking for. And it didn't matter if they were educated or not. It didn't matter if they were light skinned or dark skinned. It didn't matter if they were big or small, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's cool. I appreciate it, bro. And I appreciate the fact that you eloquently put your points across well. So I do appreciate that. I think we can have a really good conversation. So I'm hearing what you're saying. So you're saying that the women at this time were looking at men as wallets, objectifying men for their wallets, right? Just as providers, right? Would you say that's correct, that part? That the women were just kind of looking at the men as just providers?
I mean, I would argue most of them, yes.
Okay. So men were looking, women look at men as providers. What were men in that same environment looking at women for?
They were looking at them as what, how much do you weigh? What do you look like? Can you be if I'm going to be this provider for you, can you be like the look of a particular man in this realm, right? Okay. So if I'm your if I'm the Benz, then you got to be the person that looks good in the passenger seat of the Benz. Okay. Right? Okay. If I got to provide you with a particular lifestyle, then you have to look like the woman that I think looks like the woman that's in that lifestyle. Okay. Right? Okay. It looks ugly. The negotiating between men and women looks ugly.
I actually don't disagree with that, but to necessarily that point, that's not that's not a point I disagree with. As I said, I agree with some of the points that KS made. I think men have made those points for a very long time. I think where I'm kind of trying to get an understanding, you're saying that Kevin Samuels was responding to the market in terms of women looking at men as just as wallets, because you kind of threw a few different arguments in, talking about how obviously if men have been misogyny in hip hop, then we're getting misandry from women about being broke, etc., etc. My overall question here, okay, is number one, the system that we're talking about that women are utilizing, looking at men as wallets, who benefits from that system?
White supremacists.
Okay.
White supremacist, hyper-capitalist. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
no, you're right. No, you're right, bro. I'm with you. After white supremacists, who benefits from that system?
I don't think black men or black women necessarily benefit from that. I don't think
So
neither one, honestly.
a patriarchal society, does a man benefit from that society in any shape or form as a black man?
I don't think so. I think especially when you see that if we break it down to this kind of 1950s traditional idea, which by the way, black people still really didn't participate in, that's a Disney fairy tale. Then it's the man works. You know what? I'll break it down to what a black woman said on a tweet. I miss the days when men would just die and leave you their life insurance money. So that's essentially what it is, right? So you worked. You may not have been the most what's the word I'm looking for? The nicest father. You may not have been an involved father, but you brought home the bacon and you went and did some backbreaking work, and then you died by the time you were in your mid-60s at the latest, and then you left your wife whatever the house was or whatever, the couple cars and whatever, and then her and your kids and maybe your grandkids would just live on for until she passed away maybe 2 decades later, and the only memory anybody had about dad or granddad was whatever picture was on the wall in the kitchen, in the dining room. So I don't think it was necessarily beneficial for either man or woman. But if we're going to talk about this kind of Leave It to Beaver-esque 1950s assessment of relationships, and then kind of paint it black, which once again black people didn't participate in, then we have to understand what came with that. What you see with Kevin is like, you ever play Tetris? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, so if I personally believe that us as black men, we benefit from patriarchy. Any man that's in society benefits from patriarchy because it puts us at an advantage. But let's say you're right. Let's say a black man does not benefit from the patriarchal society. Why would Kevin want women to be like they were in the 1950s then? Why would he want it? Why would, if we're not benefiting as black people, forget white supremacists, if we're not benefiting as black people, why would he be advocating that women go back to those type of roles and men play that provider role? Because that's what he was advocating for, right? Men, get on your grind, make money, be that provider, etc., high value male. And then women, we want you submissive, we want you to be how do we say, agreeable, etc., going almost back to those 1950 kind of roles in terms of how we played it. Why would he take us back there if there is no benefit for us as a black man?
Once again, I'm saying that's as a response, right? So we have to admit that what was going on, and one of the criticisms levied at black men is that you're broke and you're dusty. So Kevin comes in with the high value man thing off top. Okay, let's ignore 90% of the men, because y'all only want 10% of the men. So let's talk about what those 10% want, right? And what you saw was women didn't necessarily care about patriarchy. They just wanted patriarchy that works for them. You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
so that's why he purposely goes to the top 10%. That's like a sales pitch, right? That's the carrot. All right, let's ignore all those dudes y'all call dusty, all those dudes that y'all want to pretend that you don't want to date, that you're not trying to get married to. All right, let's focus on the 10. What are those 10 asking for? And what you saw from women is they didn't care anything about what those 10 wanted. They just want those men to take care of them. That's why I go to it didn't matter if she was educated. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Go on. I'm respecting you, bro.
But yeah, so that's why I was saying it didn't matter if this was a retail worker. No offense to retail workers. It didn't matter if this was an educated $250,000 a year sister. None of that mattered. They wanted the top 10%, and they wanted that top 10% to have the type of lifestyle and the type of wealth, so that if she didn't want to work, she wouldn't have to work. And so when we talk about how patriarchy is not necessarily the best thing for black men, specifically white patriarchy, right? Which is pretty much, especially if you live in the Western world, which you've been dominated by, better part of 5 centuries. When we talk about how it doesn't work, what you saw from the women is they didn't care whether it worked or not. They wanted something. They wanted a particular type of patriarchal lifestyle that worked for them. You see that? So that's my response.
No, I agree that. So right, so that, but it kind of didn't answer the issue. Okay, so so patriarchy, it always benefits the elite. It has always done. Even though it benefits men, it benefits the elite of those men. this is a system, this is a structure that is upheld by men, including me and you. We uphold that structure, right? So when we uphold that structure and you're the one upholding patriarchy, I mean, it's kind of rich then to kind of be getting vexed at the person who's playing the role that you asked them to. They're playing the game according to the rules that we are setting. The second part I wanted to address
Is
that
it
part.
we are setting? Because so I make a
Well,
distinction between
white supremacy sets it, but what I'm
yeah,
saying
okay,
is,
so okay,
what I'm
I
saying is
agree.
that we help contribute towards keeping that structure up, because this is my biggest issue, right? If you make 100K, right? If you make 100, if I'm Kevin Samuels, right, and someone's come to my platform, what I'm trying to get people to understand is, if you make 100K, you're right, I'll agree with you this part here, right? If you make 100K and he makes 100K, what we should be looking at is we should be coming together, right, to build this new system, right? But the truth of the matter is, both parties are locked into white supremacy and the system that's been built, which is patriarchy. But within that system, men are the beneficiaries of that. Now, of course, we can have white men, white women underneath that, if you want to call it, then other races. And you see black men and black women are at the bottom of the totem pole, but black men are above black women. When it comes to that totem pole, we are above.
If that were true, then you wouldn't have white politicians essentially turning black women into the model minority within the
But
black
why are they
community.
doing that though? Because they
It's
know exactly. They know that
no,
they know if you're trying to destroy a community, you take out the man. It's not.
so,
It's not.
yeah,
It's not. But it's not about. It doesn't change where you stand in your social hierarchy, though. You're still above the black woman. All we're saying is that the strategy that they use to try and take out the family unit is through the man, but you're still ahead of the woman in that hierarchy.
and so I think the best way for me to respond to you is this, right? So this
Yes,
is what I categorically reject. I
Okay.
categorically reject the notion that black women are more moral and definitely morally superior to black men. There's a reason why I just
Agree.
went there.
Yeah. No. There's
There's a reason why I went there. Remember, I entered saying it's a neoliberal assessment of masculinity. What the conversation we've been having as Western people, right, over the past give or take 50 years,
Mhm.
has been framed as if, especially within the black community,
Mhm.
has been framed as if black men are these sexist, misogynistic monsters, and black women are these like kind of innocent people that just want fairness and justice, and they have to share a community with a group of people that essentially want to be white men, right? And they're throwing a fit because they cannot be Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or you name them, right? Elon Musk. And what Kevin showed is that's not the case, right? Over and over, night after night, you got to see, because we know, like, we're black. We grew up in the black community. Obviously, you grew up in the black community in Britain. I grew up in the black community in America. We know nice women, kind women, giving women, selfless women. We know those women. We know the educators, right? We know those people. We date those people. Some of us are married to those people. We know them. But what Kevin showed is the other side.
Okay.
The selfishness, the cold, calculated, sometimes insidious, sometimes sinister nature, right? And it looked ugly. And so I think because we come about in this kind of women enlightenment period, kind of women power that we've been experiencing for the past 50 years, we did not want to acknowledge kind of this dark side of things, right? This kind of, what would it mean as women?
Hypergamous.
I'm sorry?
Hypergamous energy.
Yeah, like, I don't.
Women choosing men wanting to go higher on the scale because
right?
Because again, that feeds into what I'm talking about. Me and you uphold this structure, because the reason why the woman's doing that is because for her, again, it's about the security. The higher she goes up in terms of like financial structure, the more security she has from you and I. It's a game. Okay, and the game benefits us, and this is the
But
tough
how does
part
it benefit black people when? Because I see what you're saying.
When I say it benefits us, it doesn't benefit us in that way. You're right. It doesn't benefit us as a community because it's a white supremacist structure.
But I'm saying it doesn't even benefit black men, because what you saw, and that's why Kevin would ask. Okay, quick numbers. Half of Americans make less than $34,000 a year, right? Half of American men make less than 40 grand a year. That's American men, period, not just black men. What you saw is when Kevin would ask, "Hey, are you okay with the average income man?" It didn't matter where she ranked in her own income. She said no. So when you're talking about hypergamy and like dating up, what I'm saying is like black men don't even realistic black men, even if black men tomorrow said, you know what, we're throwing down our gauntlet, we ain't trying to gender war, black women would still levy this. Remember, Kevin, like I said earlier, he used the high value as a carrot to show you how many women, I'm not gonna say all or most, but at least most of the women calling onto his show, the contempt they had for just the notion of average or regular or normal. And so we can try to tear down that structure tomorrow. I don't see that, you know.
Do you want a regular girl?
I'm in a relationship. Me and my girl are good.
My question. Okay, so we're men. Let's keep it a buck here. Yeah. Did you get excited when let's say, respect to your girlfriend, I'm just saying in the past, did you ever get excited when maybe a girl that was super good looking gave you some attention?
Of course.
Right now, if you were to put that super good looking girl next to a girl that was average, and they both said they wanted you, both had the same kind of qualities, which one are you choosing?
I'm choosing the probably a better looking one.
Why?
If they had the exact same qualities?
Yeah. Why would you choose that?
The good looking one. Because she's good looking. But she's good looking.
Yeah, but why choose that though?
Because they have the same qualities, but she's a better looking woman.
Fantastic.
In my eyes.
Every human being, whether you male or female, is always looking for better. They're always trying to climb up high. And even if you thought a girl was out of your league and she was giving you attention, you would still go for it. The human nature is that to desire something that is seemingly even better than ourselves, we'll try to desire it. Now we have a situation where we have men and women, and they are both trying to desire things that are better than them. We have a whole structure of men. You've given us a whole community of women who are saying they want these men. I believe some of them are delusional. I'm gonna be honest with you. Some of them are delusional, and some of them are hurt, broken people, and some of them, do you know what, bruv? Like some people just came on there to have banter. Now, in saying that, the same pool of women that are doing this thing, there's the same pool of men who are choosing women who are poor taste, poor quality. There are men here shooting out of their shot who have got no capacity for this woman. They have nothing
smoke
to
artists.
offer.
Do you see what I'm saying? What you're saying is what I'm saying, because what I'm saying is that for the better part of 50 years, we've only focused on those delusional men. We have why Kevin blew up, and I'm sorry because I gotta say it. Why Kevin blew up is because we've, for the most part, have primarily focused our energy on those men. We haven't said nothing to those women for 50 years. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying he didn't blow up because of that though. He blew up because he trashed a woman. That's the point. He didn't.
Wait, you think he trashed the average at best woman?
When you say someone's average, would you call your girlfriend average at best?
My girlfriend isn't average at best.
No. Would you call your girlfriend average at best?
No, she's not average at best.
Even if
my girlfriend called me average, I know how I look. I'll be like, all right.
so that's the point. You see. Okay, so look, would you call your daughter average at best?
No.
Would you call your friend's daughter average at best?
But if my daughter called into a program asking the man to rate her, and then she rates herself. Remember, she rated herself. He refused to rate her at first. Remember, the average at best didn't come until she rated herself a 5 and then a 6 with makeup. Her words before he said average at best. What is 5? If we're doing 1 to 10 and you tell me you're a 5, I didn't say it, you said you're a 5, then what am I supposed to say to that?
Round wasn't the 5. The comment what he blew up for was not because she said it's 5. He blew up because he called her average at best.
But if you're a 5 out of a 10, what are you?
It's the energy. Okay. Would you? Okay, this is what I'm trying to get you to understand: tone and energy of when you deliver, how you deliver a message. Right? You've been very respectful on this platform, bro.
Yes.
You've not been anywhere disrespectful. Your tone has been very, very appropriate for the kind of conversation we're having. You have chosen this tone so we can have an acceptable discourse.
Not just me naturally. Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, I mean, that's you naturally, right? But you're not trying to be disrespectful. So your tone intentionally, and in that form, when I say intentionally, you've chosen that tone in the sense of you are choosing to be a respectful individual when you talk. That's just you, but you're choosing to be naturally respectful. Now, when you choose certain words and you deliver it in a particular way, you are inciting what we call emotional violence at that point. That's why I said when you have a girlfriend, there are certain things you just wouldn't say.
Yes.
And you wouldn't say it in a particular way. Even if you said, listen, right now, I'm angry at you. There are certain things you wouldn't say it in a certain way with a certain tone because it instantly is fighting words. You know
I
that
agree.
ain't going to make your relationship go far. So the exact same way is that when he delivered what he delivered, it's the tone, it is the energy behind it, it is the formulation of the words and the language you use at that particular point. Now, that's a nuance that is very difficult for some people to be able to fully understand, because they'll tell you, that's just me, I just say it how it is. But I can tell by your intelligence, you're very much aware of the language you use. That's why you came in straight, you dropped a straight bar, neoliberalism, you straight away dropped big word there. Right, you know the power of words, so we can't ignore.
I've been found out, you guys. No, you're right.
No, but you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. That's why I said to you, I can tell you're an intelligent person just by the way you're formulating your points of view and the way you're critically thinking. We may not agree, but the way you're delivering your points, I can tell this person is willing to be having an open-ended conversation. Whereas the last guy I had on, bro, I don't know what it was on. With you, whether we agree or not, we can see that, bro. Okay, you are thinking. Go for
it's difficult to disagree with you because the way you just phrased that, right? But this is what I'll say to that. Kevin had to say it the way he said it, because there, I'm a uncle, right?
Yeah.
And there's a level of euphemisms and softer language that you use that the person thinks it's a joke, and or the group of people think it's a joke. I would argue, because we're men, we understand softer language, tougher language. And if you go too soft with language, and imagine going too soft with language for not 1 year, not a decade, but 4 decades, 5 decades. Remember, these women are calling into Kevin's show. They have the content creators with the softer language. They're not trying to frequent those people's pages anymore because those people haven't given them any results. You gotta because this is a big history lesson. And I think we don't get to the end of this for another 2 or 3 decades, to be honest with you. And Kevin was like a big blimp, but he was a blip on a radar. We have to play this back all the way about to the mid 60s, right? And work our way up to see why Kevin sounded the way he sounded and why we think that language is so harsh, right? And full context of his channel and of that particular interview. Kevin telling her that she's average at best after she said herself she's a 5, a 6 with makeup, right? Him saying that and how we responded to that. Remember, after he ripped men for 2 or 3 years on his channel, right? One of the videos that blew up, and he did not blow. I'm so happy you brought that up.
Why didn't he blow up?
He did not blow up for telling men the truth, because because there was no more juice in that orange. That's why.
But that's the beautiful point you just made there. The important point here is that between men, when we discuss this thing, it's not an issue.
Yeah.
The problem is you brought women into it. That's the issue.
But
you see,
women wanted. Go ahead. I missed that. Sorry.
No, it's all right. I can agree with you. There would have been someone. Listen, you and I, bro. I'm sure if you're a straight talker, you'll have women asking you straight questions. Hey, look, I'm not getting no men. What do you think is the issue, right? Now,
you told me to be the next Kevin Samuels. Go ahead. No, man, that take my head off. I ain't ready for that pressure. I know people have their issues with Kevin. I get it, and I have an older sister and a younger sister, so I understand the language sentiment. I definitely understand it, and you are 100% correct. But there will be somebody that they're not going to fill Kevin's shoes. Kevin was a very unique individual, 6'4" tall brother, tall, like he had a particular aura about him, and he worked on that and did that on purpose as the carrot once again. But we can't pretend like what the man exposed and showed is the other side of it. And I think a lot of women, Black women especially, were embarrassed to see that these are their daughters and their nieces and their mothers. Essentially, it's what, like the closest equivalent would be like to be like a 32 or 34-year-old man sleeping on his mother's couch, tatted up, no job, or maybe he does have a job. Let's say he's a clean-cut brother, but he's not the greatest looking person. And he's complaining and he's calling into, let's say, a woman's show asking, why can't I have this? This is what I want. And he pulls out a goddamn laundry list as long as a scroll and says, I want all of these things, no matter what. Why can't I have them? We would laugh that man out the room and nobody would feel sympathy for him. No one would feel sympathy for a 5'3" tall dude, no matter how much money he has, asking why he can't get women. We know why you can't, right? But yet, when it's his female equivalent, the whole world erupts because, oh no, you got to use softer language.
Yes, because
if the young lady wanted softer language, she would have went to Derek Jackson. If she wanted softer language, there's a million other men, and there's so many men, let's be honest. Men know how to placate.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many men that would have placated her and ego stroked her and just found a backwards way of saying, yeah, it's black men's fault. If she wanted that, she could have found that so easily on the internet. There's so many placators, it's ridiculous. If she wanted a dude to tell her, hey, go swirl, go divest, she could have found that. But she went to Kevin. Why Kevin? Because I think she wanted that straight talk. I think it should have maybe...
Straight talk is different from... See, straight talk is what we are doing right now. We're straight talking. Yeah. If now someone, if my, like, friends, I have sisters, right? I put them on game. I say, if a man's doing this, X, Y, and Z, this is not it, right? But if you come to me, right, and you say, Coach, what do you think? Where's my place in the market? Even the way I'm going to approach it, again, that's what I said about tone and the way you address certain issues, right? The straight talking part of it, right, doesn't need, and I've said this on my channel before, truth without love is cruelty.
I've heard that before, yes.
Sometimes when we're given truth, you know, we've all encountered somebody who says, I just tell the truth. And you're looking at them like, no, you're rude.
Yes.
They're not telling the truth. No, it's the truth, but you're rude. And we all know someone like that. And when we do that, we see them, we're like, wait, why? Like, no one, listen, people will go to that person because they need to get the truth, because maybe sometimes the environment around, like you said, a lot of people pander to them, right? A lot of people pander, and you're absolutely right. But there has to be a better medium, which does not lead to an area where now we are degrading the person. Because a lot of Kevin Samuel's stuff, even aside, we even talk about average at best, which I guess we can call it a gray area, right?
Yeah.
Because it's through semantics and language. But a lot of his actual behavior, things like when there are some cases where I can agree with what he does, but some of the time, like, bro, like the woman said something and you intentionally deflect, or when she wants to say something, he puts her on mute. You can't talk over me, and when you start seeing behaviors like that, what we don't realize is, what is he showcasing? Not to the likes of me and you, who might be a little bit more intelligent, be like, I ain't gonna do that to my girlfriend. That's not that kind of
exactly.
But to those who are not as intelligent, who cannot read the situation appropriately, those men, because of the physiological differences between men and women, this is why I say patriarchy benefits us, because there's a physiological aspect to patriarchy. It will never end. This aspect of life will never end, because men, unless God decides to change our physiology, we are always going to be stronger than women in most men's cases. Cases. So that, because our society is built on violence, I've said this before, it's not built on pen, it's built on violence. The initial starting of any particular society, as Kevin said himself, men build society. Fantastic. How? Because they're stronger physically, and things come by violence. When we do revolution, we do it by violence. If we're talking about a war between men and women, and you're talking about actual physicality, there is a complete difference, meaning we have an advantage. Here's why we have men and women's sports. So now when we have that situation, there is a power dynamic that instantly comes in. And so the patriarchy we're talking about does benefit men because it benefits violence.
Okay, so I'm happy you mentioned that.
Yeah.
There was a book written that it was The Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And he speaks about, kind of working for one of the government agencies and going overseas and fomenting, this kind of rift in a country. This is all the steps you do before you get to the actual boots on the ground. Boots on the ground means that everything else failed, right? Now, being black in the Western world, specifically in America, when we talk about patriarchy, are we going to say that black men benefited from patriarchy in any way, shape? Because we're talking about kind of this violence and what, straight up, what I'm saying is that women of color, primarily black women, have been able to kind of enjoy somewhat of a gray space because their men are in the outs, right? It's the social dominance order. So whenever someone speaks about intersectionality, right?
Yeah.
So black women are black, they're women, they might be LGBTQ, so they're on the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. I always say, well, how do the people that built the structure see it, right? White heterosexual men. Who do they see as the number one threat? That's when you get social dominance order, which says that men of color are on the out. They're seen as the threat. Now, when we start looking at numbers of who dies earlier, when we start looking at homicide rates, when we even look at domestic violence, black men, everybody talks about black women being the number one group of people. Actually, it's Native American women, but that's neither here nor there. Being domestic violence out of women. But who's the number one domestic violence victims out of men? Black men. Because we're fighting in these homes. I just so happen to be stronger than you.
Wait, say that last part again.
We're fighting in these homes.
No, before that, who's dying most?
Oh, black men. Black men are being as men. When we talk about men,
yeah,
men are killed. Black men are killed the most in domestic violence situations out of men, right? So I'm not saying that we're killed more than black women. I'm saying out of men.
Yeah, who's killing them?
Yeah, black women, right? No, that's a fact.
I didn't say that stat.
No, that's a fact. I'm not talking about homicide. I'm not talking about street violence. I'm talking about domestic.
DV.
Yeah.
That men are. You're telling me that DV black men are killed more by black women
than anybody else in the country as a percentage. Okay,
if anything, statistics, I don't mind, but that doesn't.
Wow,
doesn't right.
Why is that so hard to believe?
I'll tell you why it doesn't. I'll tell you why, because I can't remember the stat I've heard. It's the other way round. When it comes to violence, the highest perpetrator of violence are men against men. So when men are in danger of being, when we're talking about men being in these situations with DV, or even when it comes to violence against men, it is other men. So
that's not. I mean, in domestic homes, no, it's. I post. I do have a channel, so I post these things in my community tab all the time. If you want, I'll send it to you in your email. And I'll also post it in my community tab. But yeah, I mean, like there's certain things that is like somewhat common knowledge. Kind of in the manosphere and the black manosphere, and like. So I guess that would just like how women have their particular things that they know and they can spit off easily. But my overall point was, we have to be honest about black people's unique position, especially in America.
Agree. Yeah.
Their unique position in this overall system, and I think black people have adopted, like, it's almost like they forgot they were black. Right. And that's not just exclusively a black man thing. Which you saw oftentimes on Kevin Samuel's show is black women pining for the Karen and Miss Ann position, right? Like, your biggest issue with black men is that they literally cannot make you an upper middle class white woman, right? In blackface. Like, and you saw that over and over again. So I can concede the point of, like, yeah, there are some black men that want to be Jeff Bezos and like they mistreat black women and they whatever. I can concede all of that. But I always say what we saw from Kevin and what we see in a lot of these interviews that different men are doing online, speaking to women, many women, not just black women, obviously, their biggest issue with their male counterparts is that these men can't make them upper middle class, essentially white women, but even white women have an issue that their working class men can't make, and so there's a level of rage about that. And I once again,
that's men and women dynamics.
Yeah, yes, and I agree. So I think that's the part that
so it's not a black
got
issue.
A lot of people. I'm sorry.
So it's not really a black woman issue. It's a man and woman.
It's
issue.
a woman issue, yes, but I think it's the way it's animated in the black community is just it's horrible. But once again, like I said, we've so hyper focused on men messing up. Notice what I have not done this entire conversation. I have not excused any of the man messing up. Because I think it's real. It's real. I've seen it. I've heard it. Right. But what I continue to forward is that what Kevin and what other men in this space that speak to women show is the female counterpart. Right. And what I do not allow, at least when I'm speaking to people, is that people say, well, it's the women responding to the men. No. Black men and black women came out of slavery at the same time. And came into a messed up system at the same time. And so both of us are responding to that messed up system. I didn't initiate something and then you're responding to me. No, We both are responding to the overall environment, and it looks ugly, right? So if and what you saw with Kevin, and I'll end out with this. I don't want to,
No, I appreciate
I've
you,
been
bro.
on for yet, but
Maybe next time we
what
can
you
open up again. Yeah, go on, bro.
yeah, yes, sir. You could keep my email and email me anytime you
Thank you, bro.
want me on. But once again, what we saw with Kevin is just speaking to women and seeing how they think. And like I would implore people, the man's dead. This is literally gonna go to all the women in his life because he didn't have men in his life like that. So this is the money's gonna go to his mom and his daughter and whatever. But if y'all watch some of those interviews, it's gonna show you something that I think a lot of us don't want to see. We just don't want to see what selfish, entitled, women look like. For any of
Agreed.
you that saw the Doctor Strange movie, just
Yeah.
think of what's her name, of Scarlet Witch, right? Like it looked ugly. It looked ugly to see someone that was like, I want this and I will destroy multiple universes to get it. Right? It looks ugly. I will kill even the other me to get it. I will sacrifice this little girl to get it. Right? Right? I will kill one of my co-workers to get it. It looks ugly. And like, we know that there's men like that. We've always known that. We talk about those men ad nauseum. But once again, Kevin showed you what some of those women look like. White, black, Asian, Latino, or otherwise, right? For those of you that saw, I don't frequent Fresh and Fit. Me and you are probably on the same page about those dudes. I don't. But there was one time when Kevin called in and he humbled the hell out of a white woman. So this wasn't just he humbled the hell out of her, which shows you that level of entitlement and misandry, right? Like, even when he shut her down, he had to really close the lid on her because she still wanted to get that last word in. Once again, like, we just don't like talking about that, right? We'll talk about men all day, and I think it's because we're living through a woman enlightenment, and that's a good thing. I'm not even against that. But we just have to understand that there's enough women that make enough money to have enough status where they're going to say things sometimes that are going to be ugly. And if we want true freedom and equality and all of this thing, equity in the system, we have to be willing to engage that and address that for real. Not just, oh, she's doing that because you're doing that, man. Really? Oh, are you sure about that? Because the women that were calling into his show, they straight up showed you that a lot of this isn't a response to anything, but I want this, I want it now, I want it like this, and if I can't have it, screw everybody and everything. And it looks ugly, and I'll pause right there.
So it's a quick question. So those women that you're talking about, you're a young, lovely young lady yourself. Is she part of that group?
No.
Okay. Is she is that a rare find? Is that a minority? Would you say she's a minority?
Ooh, why are you asking me this question? Do you really want me to ask?
Yeah, I want to.
I think a lot of this is me being conscious about what I picked, but a lot of it is also luck. If I'm going to be 100% honest, a lot of this is luck. I got lucky.
Here we go. I don't think you got lucky. I think you intentionally chose this thing. Now, here's the thing. My issue is that the minority is what this is what white folk did to black people. They do the exact same thing that Kevin did, which is highlight a minority and make an absolute majority. They take white folk. White folk will take one black kid on who has committed a crime. They blast it nationally, and then suddenly, when you keep posting images like that, you got white folks scared of black folks, right? It's the exact same thing. Taking that little minority of it and saying, look at this black on black crime. They never talk about white on white crime, right? But the focus becomes uber focused on this particular issue. So my thing was asking is that if we're taking the minority and then trying to make that general consensus, that's where I have this greatest issue. Not even just that though. My issue is, okay, if we want to show that these women are out there, these women that are misandrist, or if you want to call it that, or women that just care about men's wallets, why do we have to then go to a part where we end up degrading?
I don't know if it's a hyper minority, brother. I think that's what we might have. I'm not saying it's a majority, but I don't think it's a hyper minority. We might be looking at a quarter, maybe a third, and that's huge.
Women are hyper.
It could be 50%. I'm not gonna. I know it's not a hyper minority. I'll say that, but it could be a quarter of a third, and that's a huge number of women to randomly from around he had women calling from Britain, from Canada, from around the Western world that have this view of men. Like, and once again, like I said, it's a neoliberal assessment of masculinity. And if we're going to be honest about how neoliberalism has, and this market-based idea has affected men, then you have to be honest about how it affected women, and not just 5% of women, but honestly, all of women. Is just that most of us as human beings, and this is where I'll agree with you 100. We understand how to mitigate that need and want for this kind of weird, ultra exceptional life. We've learned that. But what you saw with Kevin's show is that a lot of women don't. And like, we could disagree and we could play semantics about the number, but I'm sorry.
No, I agree. I agree with that part.
Yeah, okay.
We agree with that part. Yeah.
I'm saying like that, whether it's 10% or 25 or 30 or 35, it does affect the overall discourse in the Black community, because those Black people, Black women and Black men, are dating other Black people, right? They're dating, and if they're international, they're going from Canada to America to Jamaica to Haiti to France to Britain, and say it again.
But they're still the minority.
No, I'm not saying they're not. Go ahead.
If we do that, then we then have to shine the light on the minority of men who, when women start saying all men are trash, all men are abusers, all men are this, when they take a minority and make it a majority, and then we're gonna start complaining. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, so as leaders of a community, I believe that men are leaders. I believe men are leaders of the community, right?
Do you think Black men are leading the Black community as of present in America? I mean, like, you're not. No, I don't mean this to dismiss.
Clearly, we're not, because we're doing the same thing as them. We're now bitching and moaning rather than actually putting solutions forward.
I don't know if Black men ever really ran the Black American community outside of the 12 years of Reconstruction in America. I would argue Black men have never ran the Black community post 1878, right? 12 years after slavery. I would argue that's because you can even, I mean, like, there are presidential candidates, right, that like have made statement. There are judges that all understand that the Black community isn't run by, even what's his name, Steele. He was the Republican chairman at one point. He said, if you want Black men to vote, go talk to their wives, and they'll vote for whoever their wife tell them to vote for. Yeah, right, and this is a Black man. Like,
that's not Black people. That's humans. I'll tell you what. That's a biblical principle. When you look at Adam and Eve, what did Eve do? Yeah. Adam was standing right next to her. What did Eve do? She gave him the fruit, and he did it. So that's man and woman across the board. What I'm saying is, men are supposed to be leaders, right? Because of your protection, your provision. The Bible even says that Adam, you will till the ground. This is what's going to happen as a protection, provision, and priestly of your home. This is something that I believe Red Pill talk about as well. Manosphere talk about, right? Those particular areas of departments. As a leader of your community, look, you may not be leading. Black men may not be leading right now in terms of their community, but you're supposed to be. That's the issue. So what my thing is this: as leaders, what are we supposed to be doing? Is it we're supposed to be pulling up women, or should we get ourselves into shape first? Because whenever you start pulling up followers rather than pulling up leaders, you don't have a strong foundation to even lead from. So then you've got followers being dragged to a position where your leaders are not even competent already. So
I would argue
have to start with the leaders. You can't start with followers.
I would argue that what Kevin showed is that these particular, now this is where I agree with you, and maybe this is kind of because of the algorithm and people that are okay with having these type of conversations online. But what Kevin showed is these women ain't trying to get down with nobody's program. I want your money. I don't care about nothing you talking about. It's, you know what it is? I want the wedding, screw the marriage. I just want to be princess for a day.
But there's men out here we know who just want women.
No, I agree. I'm agreeing with that. What I'm saying is
gold diggers. That is nothing new.
No. I'm agreeing with that. I'm not even going to the gold digger part as much as saying we have to be honest about the fact that at least, and probably in the same as in Britain and in Canada, there are people that have gotten comfortable to the chaos, and so they will do anything to sabotage Black male leadership. They don't care about the accoutrement that come with it. I'm okay with the system the way it is now, because it's benefiting me in a particular way that a structure built by black men would not, right? A structure built by black men, maybe I can't speak this way openly, because it might be limiting, right? So there's a certain way of seeing freedom and liberties that I think, you know what it is? It's understanding your position in this society and saying,
Yes.
I like it the way it is. I don't want what comes with, and these women are willing to fight other women, by the way, because they're like, yeah, screw all that black male leadership. No, I like the fact that white supremacy has its foot on our neck, because then I could run amok and do whatever I want to do. And we know that there's black men like that too, by the way. We speak about those black men once again ad nauseum, but we do not speak about their black women counterparts that are perfectly okay with the system as is, because they get to use white supremacy as a cudgel to hit black men upside the head with. So we know about the black men that do that, but we don't talk about the black women that do that. So that's what I'm saying.
I mean, to be honest, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, to be honest,
what would you call BLM? I'm not even a conservative, brother.
Yeah, BLM was.
What would you call BLM when they use the death of, primarily because yes, we understand Renisha McBoyd, Sandra Bland, we understand those people, right? Breonna Taylor, we know that there were black women being killed by police officers unjustly, obviously. But what would you call it when they use Michael Brown and George Floyd to push their own side agenda that has nothing to do with black men, straight black men primarily?
I call that being a con man.
Say again?
I said I call that.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, right? So like they're using. So we're in agreement. You're just using a different word for it, but like they're in their own memo. It said pretty much sideline. I'm cut it short. Sideline straight black men. If a straight black man comes into one of our offices talking about his struggles, sideline him, put him to the back. We don't want them to be the face. But you're using their blood to forward your movement, right? Primarily straight black men to forward your side movement that has nothing to do with them, and you're openly admitting in this memo that we're going to sideline them Negroes when they come to us with their issues. I'm saying that to say that there are black women.
Where was the men? Where was the men who were doing their own organization? This was run by
Darren Seals, and I don't know if you heard what happened to him.
I don't know what happened to him, but I'm saying
yeah,
again,
brother died in a car and burnt up in a car. Put on your tinfoil hat for that one. Just keep on going. Roll past that statement.
But what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, okay, there are con men everywhere. So women and men, they're con men, right? But I'm saying that you're talking about that particular time and season, right, where the black man was as a lead. Fantastic. Okay, because maybe that person understood, like I said, the system, how men also operate too, right? Because that's what I said about patriarchy, and I'll mention this word about even misogyny, and also the fact that how when we talk about these situations like Sarah Bland, etc., I've seen how men respond. I've seen how they respond on the internet. All right, half time we don't even care because it ain't us. Okay, now here's my thing is this. Okay, so BLM did their thing. I said, but where was the men to do their own thing? This is what I'm saying about leaders.
I responded to that.
We did. You said about another person, and I'm saying what I'm saying in the sense of what you're mentioning are normal things. People con people. It's the fact that it was a woman doing this. That's the misogyny I'm talking about. See that right there? That's the thing I'm talking about as men. That's an entitlement. When you can see women are doing what men do, but you're saying we have to hold them accountable. I'm like,
no, I'm not even doing that. What I'm saying, I think it's almost like we're speaking past each other. Yeah, because because what I'm saying is like, but if it was a man that did that, the level, because now BLM is being investigated, by the way. But if those were men, I don't even know if they could have got that far with it, like buying mansions on people's money, right? So I think what I'm saying is like, what you're calling like misogyny because we're hyper focused on the women messing up. I'm saying would the men be even allowed to get that far? Because we're so like, we're watching you. We know you money hungry Negroes. We know we waiting. The second you spend $1 out of line, we on you, right? So when you're doing that, when we have a group of sisters that have their own particular thing going on, it takes them like 6-7 years to finally be found out. And then we finally start getting on them and trying to find out, hey, where did the money go for this? And this young man who was killed by the cops, his mother is saying y'all didn't do anything. So now we're going to investigate you how many years long into the organization, right? Tying all that in, for me, once again, not about anyone that y'all don't know me in real life, anyone that knows me on the internet or in real life will tell you Mr. Z is not nowhere near misogynist in the way I speak to
I'm not
women, the
saying
way
you
I
are, by the
act.
way, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Sorry, if I
So-
didn't mean to insinuate if you were that you are.
Yeah.
if I said
No,
that,
no,
yeah.
I don't think you're saying that, but I'm just saying
Okay.
that just no one that knows me either from the internet or in real life would ever tell you Mr. Z comes off as anything like that. What I am saying once again is, like I said, I categorically reject the idea that women are more moral. And the reason why I brought that out, and I'm gonna let you go for real because it took so much time,
That's right,
is
bro.
because the way the conversation is framed is always as if women are responding to men, especially in the black community, and our effery, right? And what I like to posit is, if we go to the same schools, attend the same churches, right? Listen to mostly the same music, raised by the same single mom. If we have both of our parents raised by the same parents, how is it that when I turn 13, I become a monster? When I turn 18, I'm even a bigger monster. And when you turn 13, you're still the same young woman that's perfectly okay. When you turn 18, you become a woman and everything about you is just grand. How is that possible? How and because we framed the conversation between black boys and black girls, black men and black women, as if black, like, you may have never seen this movie. It's called Waiting to Excel. It was a big movie in the 90s in America, but like each one of those male characters was messed up for the most part. Like each one of them was horrible, right? They were either like they made a lot of money and they were perfectly okay, but they cheated on their wife with a white woman. They were secretly gay. They were a Tyrone with no money, or they were stable and good, but they had horrible sex. Like, how is it that I fit into one of these categories all the time? But you, who I literally grew up with, who's my sister, who's my niece, who's my mom, who's my aunt, everything about you is perfectly okay. Like that. So I'll end with that. The reason why Kevin blew up in many ways is because I think he was able to kind of garner this energy from men in general, black men specifically, because I think they just were tired of like this framing of black men, right? And it's just horrible that, and you're going to see this reflected more and more. You're going to see less men in the workforce. You're going to see less men going to college, regardless of race, because I think they're just like, at best, they're becoming apathetic. I don't think we're going to get to the point where like all these dudes are running around here on some, I'm gonna spell it out because I don't want to say it on your channel, INCELS thing. I don't think we're going to see, most men aren't going to be on that. They're just going to become apathetic and just drop out of society. And I think a lot of women are cool with that until it starts biting. Say that again.
A society that they had a hand in building, and I mean that.
Well, white men, yeah.
Yeah, but even if white men, as I said, even though we, as being a man, you automatically end up upholding part of these structures, because, like I said, the benefit. You just spoke about the fact that women. Okay, you spoke about the fact that women here interacting with men, and how men will be apathetic. Why would you be apathetic in a system where you can actually win? You just need to, if the women are winning.
What does winning look like?
Let's just say from a male perspective, which is finances, right? If the women are able to do this and get finances, what's stopping you and I?
It's a zero-sum game. That means I got to take hers.
No,
you remember we live in a you see the look of, because it's ugly. That's what I was saying earlier. It's ugly.
But I'm not saying you take hers. I'm saying
or take another man's.
Yeah, well, someone else there, but I'm saying,
you see what I'm saying?
No, but I'm saying I'm saying the realist. I'm coming to a point with where I'm coming to an alignment with a bit with what you're saying, right? The nature of the beast has changed. Women are now allowed into workspace. They're allowed to work. They're allowed to earn finance. They're allowed to earn money. That means the way that we have to operate has to adjust and change. What we had before can't go the way we were going before, right? Now we have to have open, honest conversations between men and women. I've said this on my channel before. The ladies know this on my channel. I've said this before. The moment you get money, you get ego. That's both men and women. Now women have come into it. They've got also ego. I don't mind if people are talking about trying to expose the fact that when you get money, women also get an ego too. And look, now we both can't see each other and we're struggling in our community. That's fine, right? See how I've explained it? We both can understand it. I'm not about to be like, I need to check these women and put them into place because they need to know their level. Now that's misogyny. That's what I'm talking about. When you start feeling that entitlement to want to put a woman in her place, that's where we have an issue. Because as far as I'm concerned, look, both parties are trying to adjust and find their way in this life, men and women, right? And we're trying to figure out how to make this work. Now, I again, I said, when you get money, you get an ego.
Yes.
You've got freedom, you've got autonomy. You know, now when a man tell you, can't tell me nothing. It gets like that, right? Because you're now having your freedom. Just like when you're a young man, and your parents try to tell you when you get to 18, you're like, listen, 21, I can do whatever I want. You can't tell me what to do. We all get to that point where we've come out of being underneath the tutelage of somebody, right?
Yes.
And so at that point, it's a different type of conversation. I don't have to trash you to get you to understand that, hey, look, maybe our relations are not working because maybe you're coming at a particular angle and you're not seeing it the exact same way. I also believe that that's one aspect of why we have these gender issues at the moment for us amongst Black people in terms of relationships. The second part is me and you going to have to push even harder. It's as simple as that. We can't sit there and complain that the women are catching up with us and then we're like, well, we've got to try and put them in their place. No, you've got to move. That's the whole point. We got to shift. We can't be in the same place we were before.
I agree with that. But the math ain't mathin'. It's only I always say this, right? We're all playing musical chairs. And the problem with playing musical chairs is when you find yourself without a chair, that's when you start going insane. And what I'm arguing is that men and women find themselves without chairs, but we don't care when men don't find them when men find themselves without a chair. Go die and leave another spot for another man who's going to come here and conquer something. But when women find themselves without chairs, and this is what I was getting to earlier when I said, when I was getting to the apathy part, which is if it's only 5% of men that become apathetic and go, live in their parents' basement and then die, we don't care. 10%, it starts hurting, it starts affecting society. When you start getting upwards of maybe 20% of your society plus, look at Japan and South Korea right now, especially Japan, right? The hikikomori, I think they call them, when they're shut-ins. When you have a significant portion of your population that are not seeing each other, they're not dating. We already have that in America, generally speaking. They're not dating. They're not getting married. They're not buying new houses. They're not buying new cars. They're not even having sex. Quiet as kept, there's a whole lot of young people under the age of 35, 30 that are not even and why sex matters, just the intimacy. It's not so much the sex, but there's so much animosity that the intimacy isn't there. What I'm saying, and this is pretty much my biggest point here, it's not all men thing. Especially in the Black community, we have a very unique position and a very unique history amongst this.
So you're aware, are you now aware of intersectionality in terms of the way that we're affected disproportionately?
No, I've never discounted intersectionality. I was saying when it comes to men and women relationships, we've used intersectionality to discount how the system goes at Black men. We don't talk about social dominance order. We only talk about intersectionality, right? So a Black woman who's LGBTQ, she's like the center of the universe when it comes to that particular conversation about oppression. When we just watched her brother get killed by a white cop, and we don't understand how that's social dominance order. The cop will skip over her to go kill him, right? Push her out the way to go kill him because that's social dominance order. Right. So like that. So it's not discounting, because intersectionality does mean something. It does mean that, hey, when we're having a conversation, maybe the white dude to sideline you, the same white dude that might kill me might try to sideline you and then talk to me because I'm a straight Black man. I can acknowledge that that's a thing. But what I'm saying is when we don't talk about the other side of the coin, which is social dominance order, we don't get at the root of why the system would rather choose this group of people over that group of people, even though they belong to the same community, as the group that's going to be like, you're the backbone of the Black community. Why would they do that and say that? It's the same. That's why I brought up the Confessions of an Economic Hitman. It's literally the same thing they do overseas. Literally. Hey, what group of them can we, more maneuver that has an issue with the people in power so that we could have those people assassinate them and then look like we didn't have nothing to do with it? Oh, that group? Oh yeah, go flood them with millions of dollars. And yeah, I mean, that it is what it is, and I'll end it right there, brother. I gotta get some stuff done. But thank you for engaging with me and your patience. And
no, bro, appreciate you, man.
I just wanted to like give people something to think about, because like it's not. I can't speak for other men. For me, it's not about hating women. Like I said, I will only date or marry a Black woman. Like that's it for me, right? And like once again, my girlfriend and everybody, her mom, my parents, no one that knows me, not only in real life but even online, would ever tell you Mr. Z even any slight misogynist. But there's a cost to all of our worldview and our ideology and the way we think about the opposite sex. And oftentimes we're getting hit with what it looks like, our worldview, and then we throw a fit if you it, and you know I think it just looks ugly. Like I said in the beginning, it looks ugly when you think about the opposite sex a particular way, and then God or the universe gives you the receipt for that thought process or the invoice for that, and then you throw a fit because no, I don't want this. Well, you think about men or women like that, so that's what it costs. I'll end with that. Thank you, brother, for having me up.
Bro, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for being open to the conversation, bro. Honestly, I do appreciate it. So, bro, make sure you have a good night tonight. And yeah, man, I'll definitely email you because, like I said, I like this kind of conversation. Whether we agree or not, it's good to have these different kind of points of view so we can actually improve our discourse and move forward, hopefully, as well. So, thank you again, Mrs. E, man. Much love for that.
Thank
All
you.
right. No worries, Cap, man. No worries, Cap. Oh man, that was listen. No, actually, do you know what? It was a very good conversation. I know people might not think, but listen, at least you got somebody who was willing to talk and actually be and be respectful and actually hear a different point of view. Now we may not agree, but that was, for me, that's the kind of conversation we should be having. Now I'm gonna still need them stats. I'm gonna eat it. I need that stats from Mrs. Z. Okay, we gonna need that stats. All right. But yeah, because that one, yeah, we're gonna have to look at that. We're gonna have to look at that one there. So yeah, okay. Let me sorry, Mirabade, I didn't get you on. Sorry. What's your thoughts? Apologies about that.
Hello.
Hello, how you doing? You right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there were so many things now at this point after all that conversation. I've been having trying to write down my notes, but one thing that I think really needs to be talked about is just the idea that I think we're trying too hard to connect to this Black community, and there isn't one Black community. There's so many different ways that we are different communities, and we happen to be Black, and we happen to be other things. And I think maybe some of it, what he was talking about, was certain types of people that he's dealt with. There's certain things that happen in the southern United States. There's certain things that happen when you're a person who didn't grow up with, a strong father figure. That's a community in and of itself. People who didn't grow up with that tend to engage in certain types of behaviors and tend to get into certain subcultures and things of that nature. So I think that's one part of it. Man, there's a lot to it. I think it says a lot about I guess in some ways there is a global Black community, but there's just so many substrains of it that it's so hard to try and diagnose us all with one or two different viewpoints or you know what I mean, like diagnoses, like this is how we are because of this. Like there's so much that we're all going through. There's not really that many similarities anymore at this point in history. I mean, a lot of us grow up and we're the only ones in our community or in our area. We're the only ones. So there's a lot of different things that we're going through. So there's just so much to this. I do agree with the cult of personality thing. I've been involved in a couple of cults at that level before you realize it's a cult. And he was that type of person who would incite that kind of vitriol in people and insecurity that would make you violent or want to or feel like you have to act out in some kind of way and find some kind of enemy. Yes, exactly what you were saying, what a lot of people were saying. That's 100% what I've experienced in being in close contact with cult leaders in my own life. um I mean, there's just too much to it, to be honest. It says a lot about our society in general. It's not black and white, to be honest. I grew up multicultural. My stepmom was white. My brothers were half white. Too many family members with all kind of races. It's not just a black thing. And I think one of the issues that I say is there's the reason why there's no black community is because black people don't go deeper enough into other communities to see what they're going through, and it's the same stuff that we're going through. It's exactly the same. So that's the most important stuff I can think of. I have like 2 pages back in front. It's been a long time. I kept getting kicked off for some reason. But but yeah, there's a lot to it. It's all about society as a whole right now. And I think we're in that point in society where, you start to learn things psychologically and scientifically that we are not yet integrating. And that allows people to show up and kind of know some things and touch on some things and push people in a certain direction based on having some knowledge, just a little bit, just enough knowledge to make people go, oh yeah, that makes sense, and then push them to another direction. And I think that's what's happened with him and Trump and a lot of other people around the world. And that's kind of where we are in society, is how I see it.
Okay, I appreciate Maribad. I appreciate that. All right, cool. I like that. Thank you for your views there. D, welcome to the conversation.
Thank
what's
you
your
so
thoughts?
much.
No worries.
Yeah, I was just listening, and I was looking up the domestic violence statistics about what he was saying, because he said that like black men are the most among men. And what I found interestingly enough is that they couldn't really find a lot of instances where women were abusing men, and actually it was like men, queer men specifically, were at the most risk for domestic violence from the statistics I found, and not these black women just blowing up black men's head, because I felt that was very problematic, especially with the lineage and history of domestic violence in this country, especially in black communities, for him to just unabashedly say that. And I was like, yeah. I just wanted to put that in the space so everybody knew that black women are not. I mean,
when you said it, I was like,
you'd figure it out. But yeah.
I was like, yo, like that can't be true, like, because I was like, if I remember correct, when I researched the DV, I was like if he's talking about men violence, it's men against men. So the point he was making, I was like, DV women. I said, no, come on, sir, come on. That do you know what I mean? So I don't know where he got his particular stats from. You know what I mean? I don't want to say he's being disingenuous, but one could look at it as being disingenuous, because if you have not gone to research this, but you said you've got the stat for this is a bit confusing that you come up with that stat, because I don't think anyone else had those particular stats. But
yeah, some Fox News stats, some stats,
NBC, ABC stats. he came with some stats. So yeah, I think that's part of the problem, isn't it? When we have these kind of, which is why I don't actually tend to quote stats if I don't have the stat, because what can happen quickly is people use stats to use as an authoritative move. But if you don't quote the stat, give us where the stat's from, it just looks kind of mad. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, the stat didn't sound very right at all. And yeah.
Can I interject about the stats a little bit?
Go for it.
I spend a lot of time doing studies, like studies for universities and psychology departments and things of that nature. And it really depends on the questions they're asking. They could be really highly
suggestive.
yeah, exactly. So like I take that with a grain of salt, and I really think people need to do that on a regular basis. Take that with a grain of salt, because constantly they're asking me, how can we make this study better? And I would say the questions are highly, extremely suggestive. I don't actually have an answer that I actually agree with most of the time. It's just I have to choose one of the better. So, and even sometimes with the race and things like that, they don't have like what you would actually call yourself, even with gender. I mean, it's just it's high, it really depends. It depends on so many factors. So I really wouldn't take most of these studies to be fact at all.
And then also I'd like to add, like, the sample size of a study always matters in
that too. Yeah.
Like, yeah, because it's like you could pull like this certain section in one state, and that could have a completely different result of what's indicative of the whole nation.
Okay, yeah, I'm hearing you. I hear you. I listen. I mean, I'm with you guys, man. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like I said, I don't know where the stats came from, but yeah, that stat came in there some way somehow. Okay, listen, we are almost at 4-hour mark, so I think it's time. Layla, you haven't come up. I'm waiting for Layla to come. Layla has not. Layla, let me send her the link. She's been out here. She's gonna get this link. She's been dodging me all day. But yeah, no, sorry, someone else wanted to have a point that they wanted to come up with. Sorry. Someone else wanted to have a point. Hold on. Who was the person? I do this. Do I invite him back on? I don't know if I can take that, bro. Tim, I don't know if I can bring you back up, bro. I don't know if you're gonna take it seriously. Do you know what? I'm gonna be gracious. I'm gonna bring you back on for a second or two. But listen, if we have that conversation, it's going that way again, I'm just gonna exit the conversation. So I'm gonna give you a chance to address what you said you want to address. Tim, you're back. You said you wanted to address
good,
something.
bro.
What's good, bro?
Yeah, it's all good. Now I was I went back and looked at what you said, the domestic discipline thing.
Yes.
And like I said, it was, I mean, not trying to offend you or anybody up here, but it was a part of the BDSM community. That's what it said. I Googled it. Domestic discipline is a form of BDSM, consensual discipline. I mean, that's what it said, Wikipedia. I mean, I went back and looked it up because I wanted to see if I was wrong or not.
Okay, that's fair point, right? So it's part of that community. But when Kevin Samuels was talking about it, that's not what he was talking about. He wasn't talking about BDSM.
So what was he talking about?
He was talking about genuinely having your partner consent to discipline, not as a sexual thing, but as discipline your woman so you can put her in her place. That's completely different to being about a sexual thing that we're doing in the bedroom. This is about disciplining your wife. That's why I said like BDSM is not including it because that's not what.
No, what I'm saying. Okay, what I'm saying is I looked up the definition. BDSM is a form of practices. I mean, it's not just sex. So that's why it's under there. So it's consensual discipline. Like the B stands for bondage and the D stands for discipline. Like the LGBT, it's an umbrella. It's different, like lesbian, trans, everybody's not going to be the same. Everybody's not going to practice the same thing. BDSM is an acronym. It's like an umbrella. So that's what I looked up. That's what it represents. So that's what I was trying to tell you. I wasn't trying to offend you or nothing, but I wanted to go back and look it up to see if I was wrong. And I mean, I was right, but I'm not trying to say that's not how you took it, or any other woman took it, because I can understand how that can be. Hearing that can be kind of traumatic to a woman.
No, but that's not what Kevin's advocating for. That okay? So if your daughter comes,
I mean, what do you think he's advocating for? That's why I'm asking you.
Oh, we've said it on the show before. It's DV.
So you think he's advocating? So you think he wants people to actually go out and just hit their women for no reason?
Listen, well, you can. I'm not saying there's no reason. He's trying to define a reason for that particular action. You can't roll with that. He was not talking about BDSM when he was discussing this issue amongst the men. That never even came up. in that
Okay,
discussion.
well, I'm just going off of the definition. What you told me. You told me that it was consensual discipline. That's what you told me it was. So
Okay, yes, I did tell you that, but that's what when you brought up the issue about BDSM, I told you the same thing. That was not brought up in conversation. This time, so I'm trying to let you know that's not brought up in conversation at all, ever. It was a conversation around when your woman is acting up. We should have a safe code word that I can then discipline you to put you back in your place if you're acting up.
and that's when I looked it up, and that's what it represented.
That's
Domestic discipline. That's the
not at
form of.
all. Nope.
I mean,
No,
that
no,
is
no.
the form. That is the literal form I looked up, and it said that was. I'm not trying to offend y'all, but that's what it said. It said it was a part of that
Please
community.
talk to real people and not things that you saw on Google in the first spot.
Man,
Like,
I'm just saying that's what I looked it up in the definition on multiple sites. That's what it stood for.
I hear
I'm
what you're
not
saying,
trying to
but
be offensive or nothing.
no, okay. So I don't think you're being offensive, but what I think you're doing is intentionally now blocking what we're saying. Leave that alone.
I'm
Because
not trying to block what I'm not trying to block what you say. I'm not trying to block what you say. I'm just saying I'm the definition. I took the definition that you gave me. I looked it up, and it said it was a part of that community. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. So let's leave that alone then. That's done,
Yeah.
right? That's not
Yeah.
what he's advocating for. So what's your thoughts then on that? If that's not what he's advocating for. He's advocating for someone to consent to discipline as a grown-ass adult, as a woman to be consenting to your man disciplining them. Would you agree or disagree?
If that's what she wants, that's that lifestyle, bro. It's not my place to tell a grown woman, a grown man how to live. Like, you got dudes out here end up being dominated by women, like dominatrix style. I can't
Would you
tell
want
them
your
to stop.
daughter to be in that situation? If your daughter told you that she's consenting to that behavior, would you agree?
No, I wouldn't want my daughter or my son to be in that type of position.
Why not? You just said it's BDSM. Why would you not want to?
It is. I don't want them to be in that lifestyle. But if they choose that lifestyle, that's their choice. I can't make a grown man, a grown woman not do that. This is what I'm saying.
You wouldn't. So if your daughter came to you and said to that, you would tell her that's not the right thing to be doing?
Yes.
Point in blank in case. So if Kevin then advocates for that, you disagree with Kevin Samuels. That's it.
Man, I don't agree with everything a man says. I don't agree with everything you say. I don't agree with everything Martin Luther King or Malcolm X says. I don't agree with everything the president says. Does that mean that they're not right? If they're right, I mean, I don't get what you're trying to get at. I mean, if somebody's right about something, they're right about something. If they're wrong about something, they're wrong. Nobody's gonna be 100% right all the time.
I don't worry about it, bro. It's cool. I appreciate
you,
man.
I
appreciate.
Yeah, no doubt, bro. But BDSM is BDSM, man. I can't tell no grown person not to do something.
No worries, too. I appreciate it, bro. Thank you, Tim. Love for that.
All right, man. But y'all have a blessed night, man. Salute.
You too, Cat, man. Love for that. Jeez, some bread, fam. My God. Hey, man, he took all the wind out of me, baby. Get out. Yo, is that what you lot are facing with, ladies? Is that what you lot are facing on a daily basis? I'm exhausted, bruv. He took 2 minutes of my time and I was tired. Is that what you lot are facing on a regular basis? I am knackered. Hey, good luck to you ladies out there. I'm just going to tell you, good luck to you ladies out there, because you lot are suffering, evidently. Y'all are suffering.
Well, according to him, that's consensual BDSM.
Well, he said his daughter couldn't. He would not he wouldn't want his daughter to be in that. But he says consensual BDSM. It doesn't make no sense. If it's consensual BDSM, this is what people do in their bedroom. That's what they do in their bedroom. It's not going to harm your child. But now, when it's your child, you understand that. This is what I'm saying. You ask men this question, the cognitive dissonance is crazy. Crazy. I'm knackered. I don't know how you lot do it, man. Ladies, I'm so sorry. I feel for you. There's no hope. There's no hope. There's no hope. Yeah, go and listen to. You know what? You most diverse. What did Cynthia G say? I'm playing. Listen, it is time for me to go to bed. Listen, comprehension. Do you know what I'm saying? It is mad. Oh man. Listen, it's been one of those good nights. Look, we're gonna have more of these kind of conversations. We'll have more conversations about relationships and stuff as well. Won't just do about Kevin Samuels, but I think it's really good to have this kind of conversation to just kind of unearth some of the problems. I can see what you ladies are dealing with. That was crazy. Just then, that was crazy for me. I'm just gonna be honest with you. When you say something plain and the person is just gonna keep going on the same rhetoric, I mean, listen, I ain't gonna lie to you. That was That was extraordinary. That was extraordinary. That literally was. So, you know, I don't envy you ladies at all. I don't. Wait, Layla and Robert, are you not coming up? Listen, I'll hold on for 30. I'll hold on for the next 15. If a Robert and Layla come up, I will hold on. If you lot come up, if you both come up, I will hold on for you two, because you two, I know you'll come and say something that we need to hear. You get me? Oh man. Hey, brother, listen. But you know what? Uh I'm actually shocked. I'm so sorry. Oh my days. Wow. Is this what you lot are dealing with? You lot got a lot of work on your hands, ladies. You got a lot of work on your hands. You know what I mean? No. All right, listen. I'm sorry if anyone else didn't get any to come up on here. We will open it up again. I'll do another panel so you guys can come up and talk again. Really do appreciate you guys being so respectful, sharing your points of view, and giving your points. Even the men as well. Much appreciation to Mr. Z as well for coming up here, having an open-ended conversation. It's not easy, you know, and giving different points of view. I appreciate his respectfulness and the way he told us his thoughts. Listen, we'll be back. Y'all need to go. Y'all gonna need to pray, because what is this? What you lot are suffering with? I don't know, man. I don't know. You lot are suffering out there. You really are suffering out there. Oh my days. I'm in shock. I'm knackered. But you know what? Do me a massive favor, everybody. Whilst we're still on this live, we'll put a link in the chat. I need you guys to do me a massive favor. I need you to use a link. If you haven't voted for me already, go on the link and vote for me. If you're feeling led, you know, to spend a little bit of coin and vote for me, that's fine too. I don't mind. You know what I'm saying? But go on there, cast your vote. It's free. Help me get to the next few rounds as well. I really do appreciate you guys as well for staying up with me late tonight. I know some of you got work in the morning. You're probably thinking to yourself, you know, why did you stay on this late? But you're here now. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Someone said, I see what happened. These kings often have a second phone. They Google while conversing to sound intelligent. He found something wrong. Yo, I am finished. Man said he found BDSM. Oh man. So listen, please help me out. Vote, click on that link and help your boy get situated to be an influencer on a bigger scale. We're going to continue growing, guys. You know, I'm not taking over the Manosphere. I won't be taking over Rep Hill anytime soon, ever. But, you know, we hope that we can influence some people. As more men come into this space, we hope we can influence them to think differently, you know. So we've got a big uphill task, but we're going to do what we got to do. So much appreciation. Yes. Oh, the Sabrina interview. That's on Thursday. Okay. That's on Thursday. So much appreciation. Like, share, subscribe, guys. We appreciate you. Stay locked and stay loaded. We'll see you guys very, very soon. Little black, you know what time.